NHL on USA is brought to you by Stroh's and Stroh-Lite. Fire brewed for smoother taste. Stroh's, official sponsors of the National Hockey League. By Toyota's exciting cars and trucks for 1985. Toyota invites you to see them at your local dealer. By Mobil Super Unleaded Gasoline, higher octane for better performance. And by the only jeans that shrink to fit you and you alone. Levi's Button Fly 501 Blues. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the NHL on USA. I'm Al Troutwig in Chicago. When is a losing record good enough in the National Hockey League? Well, if you're the Chicago Blackhawks, it is. They've got a losing record, and still they're tied with the St. Louis Blues for the top spot in the Norris Division. They've been erratic. Great this week against Minnesota Wednesday. Lousy this week against Philadelphia on Friday. For the Islanders, Al Arbor feels the veterans have not produced, but they have had tremendous numbers of injuries. Let's take a look at the current list of players not with the team. First, Ken Morrow, Clark Gillies, Stefan Pearson, Pat LaFontaine just got mono this week, Bob Nystrom, and Anders Kaller. That's a practical all-star team for you. In addition to that, Paul Boudelier not with the team. He's got the flu tonight. And Mike Bossa even scared the team last night when he got a puck in the side of the head, hit the ice, and then was able to skate off. Let's get more on tonight's game from Dan Kelly and Gary Green.
Al, I think you've pretty well explained the Islander problem, the injuries to some very key people. But, Gary, this Chicago club, even on home ice, they've only won in their last 8 games 3 and lost 5. What's happened to this club that a lot of people thought would run away with the Norris Division?
Orville Tessier has said that right now they've only shown that they are just that, a 500 hockey club. They have had problems as of late winning at home. That is something they didn't have problems with last year. Instead, they had problems winning on the road. Right now, their power play has been giving them the worst problem. They have only 10% power play at home, the worst in the league, but yet on the road, they are one of the best. He is really confused, a little baffled to say the least.
The Islanders, meanwhile, scored a big victory yesterday, coming from behind to beat the Flyers. Tonight, they're starting a 4-game road trip, and they think they're ready here in Chicago.
Dan, that was an exciting game last night. 3 goals inside of 3 minutes for the Islanders to win their 3rd straight. They complete a very successful week, their first week without Butch Goring, the man who many feel was the spark plug to the Stanley Cups. He was put on waivers, and he's now in Boston. The NHL on USA is brought to you by Chrysler Plymouth, official cars of the National Hockey League. From Chicago, it's the Hawks and Isles, live on USA. We'll be back.
Chicago Blackhawks here at Chicago Stadium. Their 2nd meeting of this National Hockey League season. Both teams on the ice just prior to the start of this game at the noisiest building in the National Hockey League, Chicago Stadium. Tonight in the NHL, other action finds Detroit at Quebec. Edmonton visits Buffalo. Toronto on the West Coast to play the Canucks in Vancouver, and the Winnipeg Jets in Los Angeles. And we had an afternoon game. The Philadelphia Flyers widening their lead in the Patrick Division. A 7-1 victory over the Calgary Flames for Philadelphia, and the Flyers now with a 2-point lead on 2nd place Washington, and in turn 8 points ahead of the 3rd place Islanders in the Patrick Division. Both teams on the ice just prior to the national anthem. And Gary Green, Chicago, as we mentioned, struggling, and particularly on home ice, which is really a mystery.
Well, as you can remember, we'll just continue where we left off in the opening, Dan, and the fact that last year Orville Tessier was really upset with the way that his team played on the road. They couldn't seem to win on the road, but yet they had an excellent home record. In fact, their record at home last year was 25-13-2, only losing 13 games all season long. This year, well, they're playing better on the road, but their home record has been worse. They are 2 points below 500, and yet are still in first place in this Norris Division. Tied for first place, I should say, with St. Louis.
Farm regulations prohibit smoking in the seating area.
Teams are lining up at their respective blue lines. And momentarily, we'll have the national anthem here at Chicago Stadium.
whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, but our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of
The referee for tonight's game, Don Koharski. The linesmen, Kevin Collins and Ron Foyt, they will handle this game here at Chicago Stadium. Billy Smith, the starting goaltender for the Auditors. He's played 17 games this year, 10 wins, 7 losses, a 3.99 goals against average. Murray Bannerman has played 34 games, second most in the league, 13, 17, and 3 his record, and his goals against mark, 3.93. So Bannerman for Chicago, Billy Smith for the Auditors, and Gary Green. It's as noisy as ever in Chicago Stadium.
Well, this is an exciting place to watch a hockey game, whether or not that is regular season or playoffs. A jam-packed crowd here at Chicago Stadium.
This place is electric. And here we go with Gardner against Brent Sutter. And immediately Brent Sutter gets it, and Thomas Johnson got it near the Chicago line. Ben Wilson flips it into the Auditor zone. Number 2, Gord Dineen, over to Gilbert on left wing, number 17. Greg Gilbert to the Chicago line with a shot wide. Now the rookie Pat Flatley behind the net to Gilbert. That's broken up, and back comes Bill Gardner for the Hawks, number 14. Gardner dropping one back, but right onto Brent Sutter's stick. Sutter, number 21, clearing it to Gilbert, who couldn't get it outside the zone. Gardner held it in. Gardner trying to feed Ludzik. Out of the goal is Billy Smith to clear it. And number 8, Flatley, clears to Sutter, now to Gilbert, number 17. He shoots it into the Chicago zone. Number 23, Ben Wilson back to get it. To Dennis Savard, number 18. He shot one. Tonelli knocks it down. Brian Sutter had it, lost it, and back comes Savard. This drop pass intercepted by Tonelli, and here's a 2-on-1. Auditor break. Tonelli to Bossy. Bannerman, a big save on Bossy. Puck comes to Bossy again. Let's go. A shot. Bounces off of Bannerman's stick and then off the boards. And right to Steve Larmer. Larmer, number 28. His shot turned aside by Smith. Cleared in behind the net. Ed Olczyk, the rookie, couldn't get it, and Brian Sutter for the Auditors feeds Bossy, number 22. Bossy with a neat little pass to Gord Lane. Bannerman handles that long shot. And Steve Larmer cleared it back of his own goal. Now cleared back onto the boards to Doug Wilson. Puck in behind the goal. Bob Murray knocking down Tonelli for the Auditors. Over onto the other side. Here's Dwayne Sutter into the corner. Trying to center. It's Tonelli behind the net. John Tonelli does. Dwayne Sutter a shot. And Bannerman another big save. And that's 2 that Murray Bannerman has had so far in this game. Earlier on Bossy and now on Dwayne Sutter.
Bannerman looking very much alive. And as Dan had mentioned, those 2 big saves, that gives the Blackhawks a real boost early in this game. Watch Bannerman here. You can see on Dwayne Sutter, number 12. Sutter comes from the left side, and really there was no one close. Dwayne Sutter had an excellent opportunity to score. Bannerman standing up, playing his angles, and coming out and challenging the shooter.
Bannerman playing in his 35th game this year. Only Pelly Lindbergh of the Flyers has played more. Here's Flatley holding it in, and now Gilbert gets it. Here's Greg Gilbert, couldn't get the shot off. And into the corner it goes. Yaremchuk for Chicago. To McMillan. He cleared it to the line. Flatley held it in, deflected, just wide of the net by Gilbert. Now the Auditors pouring pressure on. Gilbert to Sutter. He scores! Brent Sutter feeding Bannerman to the bottom left, or bottom right corner, I should say. And an excellent shot it was by Brent Sutter, who's having a banner year for the Auditors.
He really is, Dan, and watch, he's alone in the slot, just a quick pass, but Brent Sutter, the key to the goal was that he shot the puck right away. He did not give the Chicago defenseman an opportunity to get out and cover him. Instead, shooting right away, caught Bannerman by surprise, but picking that corner beautifully. Bannerman had made a couple of real key saves, Dan. You couldn't expect him to continue without allowing a goal. Chicago looking a little weak in their own zone.
That's Brent Sutter's 25th goal of the year. He's the 5th best point getter in the NHL to this point of the season. Now the Hawks coming back. Ludzik firing it in. Patterson couldn't get it. Now Bill Gardner does. Gardner trying to drop it back to the point, but Dwayne Sutter cleared it, not out. Gardner held it in. Now Gord Dineen to Dwayne Sutter. Ahead to Bourne, who's playing center ice tonight. Bourne normally is a winger. Here is Dineen. Couldn't get it into the Hawk zone, and Patterson gets it and starts back for Chicago. Rick Patterson clearing it in. Thomas Janssen back together. Janssen circling his own goal. Feeds one for Matt Celine, who lets it go the length of the ice. And this is going to be an icing call against the Blackhawks, or against the Auditors, and a face-off. Other games tonight, it is Quebec leading in the second period 4-1 over Detroit, and Buffalo leading Edmonton 3-2. Here the Auditors have taken the lead. Brent Sutter getting the goal. Gilbert and Flatley the assist. 2:23 the time, and the Auditors attack again. John Tonelli centering one. Bannerman cleared that away. And number 19, Troy Murray, comes back for Chicago. Now Doug Wilson, number 24, will try. Ahead to Troy Murray. Murray moving into the Auditor zone. Langevin blocked his shot. Now a loose puck. Doug Wilson moved in and fanned on it. Here's Troy Murray from the point with a shot wide. Now Bob Murray's shot off a skate and into the corner. Here's the rookie Olchek. The 18-year-old Chicago youngster centered it. Bob Murray's shot blocked at the defense. And the Auditors come out of their own zone, led by number 27, Tonelli. Tonelli centered to Trottier. Bounced over his stick into the corner. Troy Murray clearing it back of his own goal, but Trottier into the corner to get it to Tonelli. Back to the rookie Diduck at the point. Over to Tonelli. To the side of the net to Trottier. It hits the referee. Chicago trying to clear it. Can't get it out. Now Lysiak had a chance. He failed to clear it. Here is Tonelli for the Auditors. Tied up by two Hawks. Getting it into the corner to Trottier. Now to Bossy. To Potvin and Bannerman. A glove save on Potvin. As the Auditors are pouring on the pressure here. The Hawks, Troy Murray couldn't get by Dennis Potvin, who cleared it back in, but right back comes number 6, Bob Murray, for Chicago, and he clears it into the Auditor zone. It's been all the Auditors so far. Here is Potvin. A pass. Brent Sutter chips it in, and it's shot back out by Ben Wilson. Now Gerald Diduck trying to clear it in. Keith Brown just back in the Hawk lineup after an injury siege. Gets the puck. He's number 4. Here's Brown. To Savard into Steve Larmer. Larmer shot it into the corner. And Brent Sutter, number 21, clearing it around on left wing for Gilbert. And Gilbert flips the puck down into the Chicago zone. Ben Wilson back to get it. They rule that Chicago could have played it, so there's no icing. Here's Brown to Ben Wilson, now to Savard. Savard leaving it there. Here's Ben Wilson moving in on left wing. Wilson behind the net. Now it's centered out in front. And a drop pass intercepted by Gilbert, and the Auditors come out of there. Keith Brown breaks it up and shot it back to center. Johnson for New York to Dineen, number 2. Dineen lost it to Kurt Fraser, number 8. Fraser into Bill Gardner. Gardner in on right wing, cutting in. Johnson, the poke check to knock it away. And then he cleared it, held in at the point, a drive, and off the side of the net and off Billy Smith's stick in behind the Auditor goal. Here's Brent Sutter. Tried to clear it, and he cleared it up over the boards at the Auditor players' bench. Early in this game, the Auditors lead the Blackhawks 1-0. We're in Chicago Stadium.
Then the Islanders in this first period, they are really putting the pressure on.
Buffalo 3-2 over Edmonton in that other game that we talked about earlier. Face-off coming up in the New York zone. Longevin for New York, clearing one as the Islanders have their kid line out there. And here's one of the kids, number 23, shooting it in. The Blues, or the Hawks, trying to clear it out of there. Now we have a fight. Kerr getting into it with the Chicago rookie Mark Bergevin. And they hammer away at each other in the corner. A couple of rookies, Alan Kerr of the Islanders and Mark Bergevin of the Blackhawks. And they really threw some haymakers.
Well, it's ironic that when I was talking to both coaches before the game, Al Arbor for the Islanders was telling me what a tough young kid this Alan Kerr was. Meanwhile, right after that, Coach Orville Tessier for the Blackhawks was telling me that Mark Bergevin really has impressed him with his aggressiveness, his desire to play in this league, his overall toughness in his own end zone. And you can see how it started. Both players, indeed, living up to what their coaches had said about them.
For our local systems, we'll pause now. It's the NHL on US. Seen major penalties to Bergevin of Chicago and to Kerr of the Islanders for fighting. 6:24 the time, coincidental majors. And those two young guys really threw them.
Well, they are both trying to stay in the NHL, and when it comes to the toughness department, they want to prove that they are tough enough to stay here as well.
Here's Ken Yaremchuk speeding in, and he bounced one in front of the Islander goal. Billy Smith was able to scoop it up and just hold it, and we'll get a face-off now deep in the New York zone. You look at the goaltending stats of these two goaltenders. Smith, the veteran, playing in his 18th game of the year. Bannerman playing in his 35th, a big differential there. But, of course, earlier in the year, the Islanders had three goaltenders.
Well, that made a big difference, Dan, and now that they have the two goaltenders, Smith and Rudy, I think that makes one person in particular very happy, and that's Billy Smith, who really complained a lot about the three goaltender system over the last couple of years.
Here is Trottier for New York. Couldn't get it by Rick Patterson. Now Trottier again to Bourne. Bourne drops to Dennis Potvin. Now to Diduck. Diduck into the center ice area. Keith Brown intercepting for the Hawks. Back comes Brown. He's taken out of the play by Potvin and Diduck, and clears one off the boards and down the ice. It will go the length of the ice. Number 23, Ben Wilson, back to get it, and it's an icing call against the Islanders.
With the Blackhawks, I've always said that in the last year especially, Ben Wilson coming across from the Philadelphia Flyers, his former team, but I think they've got the hardest shooting defense in the league. When you look at Keith Brown, Bob Murray, Doug Wilson, Ben Wilson on defense, those four players particularly can really shoot the puck low and hard. Brown back in the lineup tonight after having a groin injury.
You talk about those good shooters from the point, and yet earlier you talked about their lack of success on the power play. You'd think those great shooters would have the Hawks up near the top in that department.
You really would think that. Orville Tessier feels that they are very, very tense at home on the power play, and their record shows it.
Here's Thomas Janssen back to the goal. Steve Larmer in there checking for Chicago. Janssen clearing it over onto the other wing, and Savard gets it for the Hawks, centered, and Trottier intercepts that to number 12, Dwayne Sutter. Off his skate, and Bob Murray is back for Chicago. Over to number 8, Kurt Fraser. Fraser headmanning to Savard. Savard dropping it to Steve Larmer in front of Doug Wilson. Wilson shoots a weak one, and it went wide. Savard missed it behind the net, and Janssen clears to Bourne. And Bourne to Matt Saline, number 20. Saline trying to go around Wilson, who took him out of the play. Kurt Fraser cleared it back to the goal. And the Hawks come back. We're going to get a penalty to Helene of the Islanders, a delayed penalty coming up. But the Hawks right now on the delayed penalty have possession. In behind the net to Dennis Savard. Savard trying to center. Comes back to the point. To Ben Wilson. Now to Lysiak. A shot. Missed the save on that. Lysiak in to get it. Gets it to Savard behind the goal. Dennis Savard centered it and went off a skate wide, and the Hawks still have it. Lysiak to Ben Wilson. That shot blocked. Ben Wilson again. Now dropping it back, and Lysiak. And finally, Helene gets it. Meanwhile, Kurt Fraser has been injured. And the Islanders are going to get a second penalty. Billy Smith did something to Kurt Fraser. Already, Helene was going to get a penalty, and that's going to be two penalties on the same stoppage of play, and Fraser is now being checked on by the Chicago trainer, also the referee Koharski.
I'd like to get another look at that one because Fraser went down, and he went down hard, and all of a sudden, very quickly, right to the right of Billy Smith. Maybe we'll get a chance to see that in a bit.
You're watching the NHL on USA. Two penalties to the Islanders. Matt Saline gets the first one, and Billy Smith, the goaltender, the other.
Well, you will see number 20, Helene. You can see why Doug Wilson, or I should say Helene, got that penalty on Doug Wilson for retaliating, but it was in front of that net, and it's still difficult to judge whether or not Billy Smith used that very famous stick to clear out Fraser.
Sounds like he did. He got a high sticking penalty. Helene's was for roughing. And then on the long delay of the penalty, Smith took one for high sticking. So the Islanders will be 2 men short. Gary talked about the Hawks' problems on the power play at home. Orville Tessier back behind the Chicago bench tonight. He had to leave Chicago earlier this week to attend to a very tough task. His father passed away in the Montreal area, and we offer our sympathy to Orville Tessier. Here are the Islanders, 2 men short. Chicago with a 2-man advantage. Doug Wilson at the point, trying to center one over onto the other side to Gardner. Bill Gardner into Savard. Savard to Wilson. Shooting one. They score! No goal! Hit by a high stick and no goal. The Hawks did put it in, but the referee Koharski says no goal. It was hit in by someone with their stick above their shoulder.
The Hawks really had good possession, but it was this shot from Doug Wilson. Smith made the save. There you can see. The shot was batted in, and it was batted in by Steve Larmer, but Don Koharski felt that it was above the shoulders. Difficult to tell from that angle.
Number 28, Steve Larmer, the man who did bat it in, says something.
Well, watch Steve Larmer to the right of your screen, and you could definitely see that he did make contact with that puck and put it in.
But was the stick above his shoulder?
It was really a fine line, wasn't it?
It really was. Chicago still with a 2-man advantage. Here is Savard. In across the line, Potvin breaks that up and shoots it down the ice. And the Hawks have to go back. Number 24, Doug Wilson. He and Bob Murray are the point men with Savard, Steve Larmer, and also Troy Murray up front. This is Troy Murray. To Doug Wilson. Over to Bob Murray. Back to Wilson. Wilson into Dennis Savard. Back to Wilson. Return to Savard. Savard takes a look, fakes the shot, gives it to Wilson. A drive, and that's deflected just wide. And now another penalty coming up on an infraction in front of the net. Billy Smith and Steve Larmer got tied up. I think Smith may be going to get another penalty.
I was about to say the same thing, and Billy Smith down on his knees right now, but Steve Larmer in front. It appeared that Billy Smith took another crack at him. And by the reaction of the crowd, Dan, I doubt very much that Steve Larmer is going to the penalty box.
It is another penalty to Billy Smith.
2 minutes for slashing at
Watch in front of the net. Wilson once again shoots. Larmer is in front. You can see that somehow Steve Larmer ended up on his backside, and there's not much question that it was Billy Smith that pulled the feet right out from under him, or pushed the feet, I should say.
Yeah, but then right after that, Gary, as Larmer was on the ice, then Smith gave him the stick, and that's what the slashing call is for. Meanwhile, this penalty will have to be delayed because the Islanders are already 2 men short. Watch after Larmer is on the ice. You'll see Smith give him a chop with that stick.
Oh, there it is. Ouch. Right in the back of the head. Steve Larmer, you can see it nice and clear. And Don Koharski saw exactly what we got an opportunity to see in the replay. Billy Smith's really putting his team in a bad situation here. Taking the first penalty is bad enough, but when you've only got 3 players in front of you, Billy Smith, you would think, would leave well enough alone. They're going to be short-handed for a while now.
So that penalty against Smith will have to be delayed. Meanwhile, we have 49 seconds left in the Helene penalty and the first penalty to Smith. Gary talked about the Hawks on the power play. 29 goals this year, a 19.7%. But of those 29 goals, only 7 at home, 22 on the road. They've really struggled with the power play at home. Here's Ben Wilson to Keith Brown. Over to Wilson. Centering to the other side. Lysiak is stopped by Smith. And then Smith pokes the puck into the corner. And Longovan clears it down the ice.
Well, Billy Smith can bail himself out of those 2 bad penalties by keeping that puck out of the net. But Chicago right now with just a perfect opportunity coming up.
Here's Keith Brown dumping it in. Ed Olczyk digs in to get it. Cleared it behind the net, but right onto Dennis Potvin's stick. And the veteran Potvin knows what to do with it when his team is 2-man short. He fires it down the ice. 8 seconds left in the penalty to Helene and the first penalty to Smith. Here's Keith Brown, bumped by Langevin. Got it through to Lysiak, now to Wilson, over to Brown. Now it's centered, Owen Gardner. Checked by Dennis Potvin just as he went to deflect it in. Now, the first 2 penalties have expired. The delayed penalty call against Smith now underway, and the Islanders just 1 man short, but shorthanded nonetheless. Gord Dineen clearing it around on the board. Number 32, Roger Kortko, able to clear it to center. And back comes Chicago. Kortko, number 32, is there to intercept. And here's Bob Bourne with a low shot wide. Troy Murray kicking it back into his own zone. Bob Murray is there. In there, forechecking on the play is Kortko, the rookie, and now taking over is Troy Murray. Murray for the Hawks to Doug Wilson. Into Savard, now to Troy Murray. Dineen breaks it up and cleared it to center. And Bob Murray has it. Chicago looking very tentative on the power play, aren't they?
Well, they are, but the Islanders doing an excellent job, Dan. Discipline in front of the net. They are playing that pass perfectly.
It's back to Bob Murray at the point. His shot wide. Smith steered it into the corner. Dineen can't clear it. Here is Savard. Savard behind the net. Tucked it in front and a save by Smith on Bob Murray. Now Wilson at the point. Over onto the other wing. In behind the goal, it's Savard. Chicago still with the man advantage. Number 18, Savard. To the side of the net to Troy Murray, and Smith came out and stole it right off Troy Murray's stick and smothered it. Now just 20 seconds left in that last Islander penalty to Billy Smith.
Well, is Billy Smith going to bail himself out of this situation? It very much looks so. 20 seconds remaining in that penalty to Smith. Dennis Savard setting up the play behind the net beautifully. He is a real magician with that puck. And he very much, like Gretzky, likes to set up on the power play behind the net. He fed Bob Murray, and Murray had an excellent scoring chance, but Billy Smith looking very sharp between the posts. He knows that if he lets a goal in now, Al Arbour's going to be pretty upset. Meanwhile, Orville Tessier is a little upset at the power play performance again.
Just 20 seconds left in that last Islander penalty. 7:57 left in the period. Still 1-0 for the Islanders. Now it will be Gardner and Tonelli taking this face-off. Puck comes to Ben Wilson at the point. Shot in behind the goal. Over on the left wing is Kravchuk. And he clears it down the ice. And Bannerman setting it up for Ben Wilson, number 23. Wilson comes to center ice. Ben Wilson still with the puck. Wilson over to Keith Brown. Centers to Patterson. With Patterson, too well checked by Trottier. Now gets it away, and Smith fought on the ice, had made the save. And now we're going to get a holding penalty against somebody, and I'm not sure whom or which team. Or our local systems will pause here.
Ahead, we'll keep you posted as we learn more about Kurt Fraser.
So the Islanders shoot it into the Chicago zone. Bannerman out of the net. Now over to Troy Murray. Chicago playing shorthanded. And Bob Murray comes up with the puck. Troy Murray now breaks out. Troy Murray, number 19, dropping it to Doug Wilson. Rink wide to Bob Murray. Now to Ed Olczyk, number 16. Olczyk pokes it into the New York zone, and Smith out of the goal, setting it up for John Tonelli. Number 27, Tonelli, on the Islander power play. He gives it to Bossy. Bossy dropping it back to Janssen. He couldn't hold it in the zone, and it's taken by Olczyk and fired down the ice and right up over the glass. So that will not help Chicago. The faceoff will come out near center ice.
Well, we were talking about power plays that having to do with the Chicago Blackhawks. You want to see a good power play, watch the New York Islanders. They have scored 39 goals so far in 149 opportunities, 26.2%. Al Arbour and his specialty teams, always excellent. Those specialty teams for Al Arbour, Dan, have won them a few Stanley Cups with their excellence.
A minute 4 left in this power play chance. Brent Sutter has scored the game's only goal, and it's 1-0 for the Islanders. Well, that Brent Sutter having an outstanding year, had a great series in the Canada Cup, and he's carried right on. 5th leading scorer in all of the NHL. Here is Gilbert giving it to Trottier, who's checked. Now puck shot away at center ice, and Bossy drops it to Thomas Janssen. Feeding it ahead to Trottier. Trottier clearing it into the Chicago zone. Ben Wilson is there, and he cleared it back to center ice, and Rick Patterson shoots it to the Islander line. Dennis Potvin to Janssen. Back to Dennis Potvin. Potvin handed it right to Gardner, but Gardner couldn't hold it in the zone. Here's Janssen feeding it to Gilbert. Keith Brown checked him. Gilbert gets it back again. Looks for Bossy, but Bossy too well covered in front of the net by Ben Wilson. Here's Janssen to Potvin. His centering pass off the skate of Patterson and back to the New York line. 15 seconds left in the penalty. Trottier into the Chicago zone. Into the corner to Bossy. Back to Trottier. Back on the point to Janssen. Olczyk ties Janssen up, and Ed Olczyk stole it from Janssen and cleared it down the ice.
Some good penalty killing here by the Blackhawks, and it's all over now, so they're getting a cheer from the fans here at Chicago Stadium for an excellent job killing off a very strong power play attempt by the Islanders.
Ludzik back on. The Islanders clear it down the ice. That's an icing call, and the faceoff will come deep in the Islander zone. A 1-0 Islander lead. We have 5:19 remaining in the opening period.
Penalty killing, something that Orville Tessier can't be too upset about. They have only allowed 38 goals so far this year, 79.1. There you see the young hockey player for the Chicago Blackhawks, Ed Olczyk. He will be Al Troutwig's first period intermission guest, so stay tuned for that one.
Born and raised right here in Chicago. Played with the United States Olympic team, was the Hawks' #1 draft choice this past June. And he's playing in the NHL as an 18-year-old rookie and playing quite well, particularly in the early part of the year before an injury hit him. Here's Brent Sutter, who has scored the goal, into Gord Lane, number 24. Lane getting tied up on the play. And now pinned in against the boards, and we get a stoppage in play. From coast to coast in all 50 states, it's the NHL on USA. Now 5:02 to play in the first period. A 1-0 Islander lead as we get ready for the face-off in the Chicago zone. It's going to be between Bob Bourne and Dennis Savard. Bourne, normally a winger, but has played center before. Puck into the corner. Helene over to get it. Doug Wilson cleared it away. Now Dwayne Sutter shooting it back to the net. Here's Bourne. For New York. Bourne tried to center. Couldn't. And number 11, McMillan, intercepts for Chicago. Bob McMillan into the Islander zone. Over onto the wing for Savard. He spun around into the corner, and Lane gets the loose puck. Gordy Lane knocked down on the play by the forechecking of Steve Larmer, and he fell right on top of the puck, did Lane. And we get a stoppage in play as we look at Dennis Savard, the exciting Blackhawks center iceman.
Once again, Savard is leading his team point-wise. He has 22 goals and 29 assists. Watch Savard through the course of the night, because something that he does, and he does oh so well, is that when he gets across that blue line, he can make things happen. And on his right wing tonight is Steve Larmer back playing with Savard. Larmer, who is right behind Savard in scoring, has had excellent success playing his wrong side. Larmer a left shot, playing the right side. He and Savard play well together.
Here's Langevin for the Auditors from the face-off to number 24, Lane. Moving it out on the wing now for Bourne. Bourne to center ice. Bob Bourne gets around McMillan. Comes to Lane at the point. His shot blocked at the defense as Jack O'Callahan went down and blocked it. And just fell on top of the puck. Let's go to our studio, and here's Al Trudwick.
Dan, we've been watching Ed Olczyk of the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. Of course, he grew up just outside of Chicago. It's his dream to be here. His career began with a big press conference, and he's already gotten a shiner under his eye, and he's been out a couple of weeks with an injury, so he's gotten a quick welcome to the NHL. He'll be with me at the end of the first period, and then we'll take a look at a hockey fantasy. We're going to take you back to Lake Placid and show you how one man's dream became a reality. He got to play with some of the big boys. Back to you, Dan.
They tell me that tomorrow night in our other USA game at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, we'll even see Al Trudwick on skates. I can't wait.
Folks, don't miss that one because, well, Al Trudwick was something else, and we'll leave it at that.
Face-off won by the Hawks. Keith Brown clearing it back of his own goal. Now Flatley centered one off Bannerman's stick and then cleared away, and Patterson comes back for the Hawks to Brown. Brown shooting it in. Didick is back to get it for New York. Cleared it on the boards. Ben Wilson holding that in. Now to Gardner, who couldn't center it, and Flatley, number 8. The Editor rookie comes to center. Patterson knocks that down. Now Gilbert into Flatley. Flatley shoots it in behind the Chicago goal. Gilbert in to get it to Brent Sutter. Brent Sutter in front to Flatley. He couldn't get it. Now Gilbert does come up with the puck. Into the corner to number 8, Pat Flatley. Brown tying him up. Back to Gilbert. Here's Gilbert, number 17, trying to pick his way in front. Centered it. Cleared away by Bannerman, and Patterson now shoots at the center ice. Flatley dropping it to his own line to Didick. Now to Potvin. Back over to the rookie, number 29, Jerry Didick. He's checked in the play, but Brent Sutter was there to cover up. Now Bob Murray controlling for the Hawks. Tried to shoot it in. Potvin intercepting. Number 5, Potvin. Flips it in. Trottier digs in, but he was too well checked in the play by Ludzik. And then Ben Wilson picks an opening and shoots it down the ice. Gord Dineen just back up again from the Islanders Farm Club at Springfield in the American League. Back to touch it, and it's an icing call against the Hawks.
You heard Al Trudwick at the start of the show talk about all of the Islander injuries, and they have really been hit hard. 7 players out of the lineup, but Al Arbour has been able to call on the depth that this team has within. You can see an all-young rookie line that they have tonight with Andy, Kortko, and Kerr. Al Arbour has them all playing together.
Meanwhile, we haven't seen much of that kid line in the first period, mainly because of the penalties that the Auditors ran into. And for the most part, Billy Smith ran into. Here's Dineen from the point to Janssen. His shot wide of the target. Trottier scores! That puck came off the boards to Trottier, and he just had to stuff it in. And the Auditors take a 2-0 lead.
You would almost think that Trottier knew exactly where that puck was going to end up. Watch Trottier. Now, once the shot was taken from the point, you can see Trottier to the right of your screen. There he sees the puck come off the backboards, hit the net. It bounced off, and Trottier was so quick to get it and then put it into the net before Bannerman had a chance to get up. Watch Trottier. One easy move. He pulls the puck back and then puts it right in before Bannerman even knew where it was coming from.
Now the Hawks steal one and try and center it. They drop it back to the point. Wilson holding it in for Chicago. Wilson blasting one from the left point wide of the net. Now Bob Murray trying to center. Here's Murray, number 6, behind the goal, gets it in front. And McMillan poked at it. Smith lost his goal stick, but was able to smother it, and he held on to it. The scoring play for the Auditors. Brian Trottier's 15th of the year. Dineen and Janssen the assists. 17-14 the time. Meanwhile, Chicago coming close with Bob McMillan moments ago.
McMillan was well tied up, though, in front of the net. Billy Smith doing some work with that stick, well, in a couple of different fashions tonight. And we're sorry to hear that Chicago's injury list continues. Fraser has a fractured right cheekbone, as a result of the incident in front of the net with Billy Smith.
And Kurt Fraser had been having an outstanding year, 18 goals with this Chicago team. A lot of injuries around the NHL this year. The Auditors a good example. The New York Rangers have been decimated with the injury bug. Puck is cleared to center ice by the Auditors. Keith Brown back to get it. Shot it to center. Matt Saline intercepts that and flips it into the Chicago zone. Ben Wilson back to get it. He's forechecked hard. Cleared it around on the boards for Keith Brown. Now worked out to center ice to Savard. Here's Savard. Couldn't get around Dave Langevin. And Langevin, a lead pass to Helene, but an offside pass, a two-line offside. And the faceoff will come back inside the Islander blue line.
Well, you take a look at Mats Helene. He's been playing on that left side tonight with Bourne and Dwayne Sutter, and they have been getting a fair amount of ice time. Helene, a big, strong European player that can control those boards, but yet consistency is something that he is yet to be able to achieve in this league, but getting a little bit more work now with the injuries on the Islanders, and this is his opportunity.
Here's Olczyk shooting it in for Chicago. Dwayne Sutter back to get it. Islanders lose it. Here's Steve Larmer, a shot. He had Smith beaten, but it hit Gordy Lane. And the Hawks didn't get a break at all there. Back comes Dwayne Sutter. Trying to center to Bourne. Bourne into the corner. Slides it to Dwayne Sutter. Ben Wilson has him checked. Now Bourne and Keith Brown battle for it. Bourne down on the ice. Ben Wilson trying to freeze the puck there. The Islanders, Dwayne Sutter still trying to get it loose. And now Steve Larmer shoots it up. Larmer, number 28. Long pass ahead for Savard. Into the Islander zone it goes, and Langevin, with less than a minute to play in the period, to Dwayne Sutter. Now to Helene. And Saline with a shot. Bannerman the save, and he's injured. Bannerman made that save, but he has been injured.
Mats Helene just let go a blistering drive, and you could tell as soon as that hit Bannerman that it really hurt. You can see that maybe that shot was deflected a little bit as well, but Bannerman just got it right in the midsection, and he went down immediately. That may have taken the wind right out of him. May have been Bob Murray's stick that puck deflected off of. And that can be confusing for a goaltender if he's got that lined up so that it's going to hit his arm or his glove, and then all of a sudden it changes direction and catches you right in the midsection. You can see the trainer here really looking at his shoulder and neck, but there is no way that was where that shot hit Bannerman.
Skip there as the Chicago trainer working over Murray Bannerman, who's on his knees. You're right, they were working up around his neck area.
Which makes me wonder, Dan, whether or not when he went down in that crouch, whether or not maybe it wasn't the shot that hurt at all, but a funny way that he may have twisted his neck. That seems very unusual.
By the way, the backup goaltender for the Hawks is Warren Skorodinsky.
Let's take a look at that shot again and follow the puck closely and see whether or not, well, you know, when we see that shot one more time in the replay, because Bannerman had his head down so low, and it's beyond me why he did, it did hit his neck area right around the shoulder, and so it was not his midsection, but why his head was down in that position is beyond me.
And he has left the ice. Skorodinsky, the backup goaltender, now starting to make his way over the boards. 24-year-old Warren Skorodinsky, a native of Winnipeg. His first full year with the Blackhawks. He's bounced around the minor leagues with Chicago at New Brunswick in the American League, Springfield in the American League, Birmingham in the Central League, Sherbrooke in the American League, then Springfield again. He was signed as a free agent after having played 2 years in the Western Junior League with Calgary, and it looks as though he's going to have to take over in goal. Warren Skorodinsky.
A very difficult situation for a goaltender to come into. We've said it many times before. And we will say it again because it is. He is right now doing some warm-ups. That's about the extent of it. He is not going to get anything more than a little bit of stretching. Goaltenders sitting on the bench, not expecting to play, have really got their hands full when they have to come in cold. But if they have to come into a game at all, it's much better they come into the game in the first period than in the third. But with 51 seconds remaining, Dan, that is a lot of pressure.
Warren Skorodinsky will see a face-off to his right. 51 seconds left in the period. It's 2-0 for the Auditors, and here is Brent Sutter dropping it to Potvin. His shot blocked, and Bill Gardner breaks it up and cleared it to Ludzik at center ice. Ludzik on right wing into the Auditor zone. He spun around. Now Gilbert cleared it out of there for New York. It goes all the way down the ice. Doug Wilson going back to touch it, and it's icing against the Auditors. They say Murray Bannerman was clutching at his throat as he went towards the Chicago locker room.
The Chicago players bailing out Skorodinsky right now because you knew the game plan for the Islanders. 52 seconds remaining. Face-off was in Chicago's end. They were going to try and get as many shots away as possible. So the forwards really bailed them out. The defensemen get that puck down in the Islanders zone. Give Skorodinsky the chance to get out of this period without too much work and let him get warmed up in the dressing room, ready for the second period.
This, by the way, is Skorodinsky's 12th game of the year. He has a 6-3-0 one-loss record, one shutout, and a 2.76 goals against average. But as we told you at the outset, Bannerman has done the brunt of the goaltending. Puck in behind the Auditor goal. Billy Smith shooting it around on the boards. Gardner into forecheck on Trottier. Trottier does get it free and moves it to Flatley. And the Auditors come to center and shoot it in. Bounces off the side of the goal. Bob Murray back to get it. Over now to Patterson. Patterson, a pass to Ludzik was behind him. Comes to the New York line, and right back comes the rookie Diddick to Flatley, who pokes it wide of the goal. Bob Murray back to get the puck. And there's the buzzer to end the first period here at Chicago Stadium. Coming up, you'll meet the 18-year-old Blackhawk rookie, a hometown favorite, Ed Olczyk, as he'll visit Al Kruglich in our USA studio. Shots on goal in the period. The Auditors at 8, the Blackhawks at 8. The score after one period, the Auditors 2, the Blackhawks nothing.
To get the Minnesota North Stars on track. In the meantime, Brian Murray has the Washington Capitals challenging for the top spot in the Patrick Division. We'll see both of those teams live from the Capitol Center in Landover tomorrow night on USA, 7:30 Eastern Time, so be with us. Right here at the end of first period action at Chicago Stadium, the Islanders leading the Chicago Blackhawks by a score of 2-0. The Islanders penalty killing unit really doing a fabulous job in that period. We mentioned earlier a player who with the Chicago Blackhawks is fulfilling a dream. He's here tonight. He's been with the Blackhawks since the beginning of the season, Ed Olczyk. And I'd like to start off by perhaps going deep into your brain and remembering the very first Blackhawks experience you had. First game on TV. When was that?
Well, it was on October 11th, and it was the opening game of the season for us, and we played the Detroit Red Wings here. And, you know, before the game, I was really nervous, and the butterflies were really flying. And Daryl Sutter, our captain, who's on the injured list right now, he came up to me and told me to get a couple hits in early so I can just get into the game and just, you know, get rid of the butterflies. And that's what I did my first shift, and that really helped me out. And that's just the kind of leadership that we have on our club. And, you know, coming to a rookie and just sort of helping him out. And, you know, to score my first goal in my very first game here at home was, you know, it's something I've worked my whole life for ever since I started playing hockey. And I was just very fortunate to, you know, to score.
That's really what I meant. When you were a kid, when you were 3, 4, 5, or 6 years old, when was the first time you remember the Blackhawks, and what did you remember about them?
Well, I think the first thing that caught my eye, or I guess my ear, really was when I heard "Here Come the Hawks," the theme song that we have. And I used to dress up in my uniform and come down our stairs, and my mom would sing "Here Come the Hawks," and she'd dress up as a goalie, and I'd come down with my Blackhawk jersey and sort of run around our living room like the Blackhawks do when we were warming up.
And, of course, here at Chicago Stadium, when you walk from the Blackhawks locker room to the ice, you're walking up a huge stairwell, and the sound of the crowd just echoes down that stairwell before you even get close to the ice.
That's right. And, you know, even when the national anthem's not even, you know, a quarter started, the fans just start going crazy, and they really appreciate their hockey. And, you know, the team we're playing tonight, the New York Islanders, you know, I could see why they won the Stanley Cup 4 years in a row. And, you know, that was a really tough period, and they just came from Philadelphia last night where they had a tough game.
Well, it didn't take you long to get a shiner under your eye, a welcome to the league, and then a foot injury. Some people said you'd be out 6 weeks with that chipped bone, but you came back after, what, 2.5?
2 weeks it was, exactly. And, you know, it was just a freak accident. Dougie Wilson hit me with a slap shot. I was about 5 feet away from him, and it just cracked a bone right on the side of my foot, and I was in a cast for about 11 days, and I started skating right after that. And, you know, a lot of people were saying, I was reading in the papers 4 to 5 weeks or 6 weeks, but I got it off and I was feeling really good. And, you know, at that time we were really struggling, and I wanted to get back in our lineup, not necessarily try to help, but maybe put a little extra flair into the team when we were struggling.
Well, you would all, I know you wanted to play for the Blackhawks, but perhaps to join a pro team in a different city and get a fresh start in a completely new environment, did that hold any attraction for you at all?
Well, Al, I just wanted to play in the National Hockey League. You know, sure, there's really extra meaning playing here in Chicago because I grew up here and always dreaming of coming up those flights of stairs and playing in a building with Stan Mikita, Bobby Hull, Tony Esposito. And, you know, at the draft, I didn't know who was going to take me, when, what round, or anything. I just wanted to be drafted, and I think it's a great honor just to be drafted, whether it was in the first round, you know, 4th round, or 12th round.
Have you had your hair cut already?
Yeah, I did. It's starting to grow back. Matter of fact, I just got one yesterday, so hopefully it'll fill out pretty good.
And I know a lot of people are impressed with you. Good luck in your career.
Thanks very much, Al. I appreciate it.
One great thing, no one had to tell him where to get deep dish pizza, or that Rush Street was the hot spot in town, or that this place is windy. And for being with us, Ed Olczyk will receive from Loris Quartz Watches and Clocks a handsome Quartz World Travel Alarm Clock to make sure that he's on time for every practice Orville Tessier wants him to be at. We take you back to 1926 for Blackhawks history. At the age of 41, Hugh Lehman became the Blackhawks' very first goaltender. Interesting that they said goodbye to Tony Esposito at the age of 41 after last season was over. A little Blackhawks history for you tonight at Chicago Stadium, an arena with lots of history. Coming up,
Blackhawks nothing. The scoring plays of the first period. Brent Sutter is 25th of the year at 223. And then at 17-14, Brian Trottier is 15th of the year. Each team had 8 shots on goal in the opening period. Brent Sutter having an outstanding year. I mentioned he's 5th best in the overall scoring race, and he really snapped this goal in, Gary.
Well, he did, but it was a good pass by Greg Gilbert, who just let Brent Sutter have a nice, soft, cushiony pass, and as soon as Brent Sutter got that puck, he looked up, he saw that right-hand corner open, and he let it go. Good low shot, beat Murray Bannerman cleanly.
Meanwhile, Chicago missed some golden opportunities. They had a 2-man advantage, couldn't get it done. I thought they scored really 1 goal, and it was disallowed because of the high stick, but I thought that might have been allowed as a goal. Meanwhile, more injuries. Kurt Fraser to hospital, fractured cheekbone. They tell me now Murray Bannerman has gone to hospital with a shoulder problem, and he won't be back tonight.
Well, once again, the injuries continue for both hockey clubs. Last year, Chicago had a string of injuries that really decimated their season. This year, well, they have been so-so on the injury list. Al Secord is out and up in the press box with us here, and they have had injuries to Daryl Sutter as well. But now, losing 2 key players in 1 game, I don't know where it's going to end. Al Arbor just shook his head before the game saying, we've got 7 out, but the whole league is really suffering injury-wise.
Here we go with the second period. Injuries and all to both these clubs. And it's a 2-0 Islander lead. Gord Lane now flipping it in. And the Chicago goaltender, Skorodinsky, stopped it back of the net. Now Langevin at the point couldn't hold it in. And Brent Sutter has to go all the way back into his own zone. Cleared it around onto the boards. Now taken by Ben Wilson. He drops it to Keith Brown. And Brown just back off the injury list. Feeds Gardner now to Steve Larmer. Centered, and it's deflected by Ludzik over top of the net. Pat Flatley, the editor rookie, shooting it over onto the boards. Gilbert couldn't clear it out of there. Here's Ludzik again. Lane ties him up. Now Gardner for Chicago. Ridden out of the play in the corner. And it's taken by Langevin and shot to center ice. Ben Wilson has it there. Flatley trying to steal it. Did. Wilson took him out of the play, and that allowed Keith Brown to get to the puck. Over to number 29, Ludzik. Back to the goal to Wilson, number 23. Ben Wilson at center to Gardner. Into the editor zone, broken up, and here's Trottier breaking down left wing for New York. Brian Trottier flips it in front to Flatley. Flatley checked on the play by Wilson. Now it's centered, and Trottier in the slot couldn't handle it, and then it's cleared by Larmer over the glass and into the crowd, and the faceoff will be in the Chicago zone.
You would think right now, for the Blackhawks anyway, they would have had a chance to regroup during that intermission. They've got Warren Skordensky now in the nets for them. He had an opportunity to get himself prepared a little bit better than he did coming into this game. Only 52 seconds when he came into the first period left. But the Blackhawks right now badly in need of a win here in front of their home crowd and to please Orville Tessier right now and try and get things going.
From the face-off, the Hawks move out of there. Broken up at the Islander line by Didick. And now here is Bossy moving in with Tonelli. Tonelli in on goal, and Skordensky came out and made the save. Now it's centered, and Bossy backhands it home for another Islander goal, and it's 3-0. Skordensky came over to the other side, made the first save on a high shot, and wasn't able to recover before Bossy stuffed it in on a backhand.
Well, I thought Skordensky had actually stopped that puck and held on to it, but he didn't. He lost the puck. There's what Tonelli fed Bossy, the pass around behind the net. Now watch, Skordensky gets caught doing a little twirl here. He totally lost sight of the puck, and he lost sight of it to the wrong man because Mike Bossy was to his left behind the net, and very similar to Trottier's goal, the second goal in the first period, tucked in right around behind the net when really both goaltenders, Bannerman at the time and Skordensky now, were not in position.
And the Hawks have fallen behind 3-0. The Islanders attack again. Trottier trying to center. It's Lane at the point, holding it in, but breaking out is Savard. Savard back to Yaremchuk. A shot. Smith makes that save, and back comes number 27, Tonelli. John Tonelli trying to move it in for Trottier. Missed the mark, and the Hawks clear it right back out. Yaremchuk poking it to center. Now Lane over to Deneen. Number 2, Gord Deneen. Rink wide pass to Gord Lane. And Lane shoots it into the Chicago zone. O'Callahan quickly back for Chicago. Long pass to Yaremchuk. Even with his speed, he couldn't catch up to it. And Langevin is back for the Islanders. To Tonelli. Flipped to center. Knocked away by Ludzik. Now Didick for New York cleared at the center. And here's Bill Gardner. Over to Steve Ludzik. He dropped it into his own zone to Ben Wilson. Wilson to Keith Brown, now to Larmer. Into Ludzik. He centered one. Gardner in front, shoots. He shot wide. Gardner with a great opportunity, and he blasted it wide. And Matt Saline now shoots it in for New York. Bourne in to get it, but it's cleared out of there by Chicago. And as Langevin goes back after it, this is going to be an icing call against Chicago. From Maine to Maui, you're watching the NHL on USA Sports. Tonight, third period, it's Quebec leading Detroit 4-2, and Buffalo leading Edmonton 4-3. Here it's 3-0 in favor of the Islanders. That last Islander scoring play. Mike Bossy's 37th of the year. Tonelli and Didick the assists. 1:37 the time. Chicago clearing it in. Now Gardner behind the net to Ludzik. Got it in front. They score! Steve Larmer. Boy, that Steve Larmer is a natural goal scorer around that net. He has great hands, great ability.
Well, you hit on the key, Dan. Great hands. Very soft touch around the net when Larmer got possession of the puck. Good short pass from Ludzik. But watch Larmer. Number 28 coming into your screen there. He just turns. He's being covered, but just a soft, gentle movement with that puck right along the ice. Fooled Billy Smith completely. Steve Larmer, that is his 25th goal of this hockey season.
You know, Gary, I had just about mentioned that Chicago, despite being behind 3-0, had not played all that badly. They had a goal disallowed in the first period. They've missed some great chances. They are now behind 3-1, and here they come again. Here's Savard trying to spin around the defense. Popfab breaks it up, and back into the corner is the Islander rookie, number 32, namely Portco, trying to clear it out. Now again, the Islanders take control as Dennis Popfab feeds it over to Deneen. The Islanders have their kid line of Portco, Handy, and Kerr on the ice, but Chicago's Patterson shoots it back in. Smith leaving it for Deneen. He tipped it back to the net. Billy Smith cleared it around to number 25, Ron Handy. Now to number 33, Portco. Portco moving in with a shot. Turned aside by Skordensky. And the Hawks take over, and back they come. led by number 18, Savard. Over onto the wing now, Rick Patterson flipping it in. Going back is the other Islander rookie, Diddick. Ahead to number 25, Handy. Handy now clearing one. Too far ahead for number 32, Roger Kortko, and the icing play will mean a faceoff comes back. Ludzik and Gardner getting the assist, 3:26 the time. And now from the faceoff, Troy Murray, a quick shot that Smith made the save on and then smothered.
And to add to the injury problems for both teams, well, this time it's for the New York Islanders. Thomas Janssen has gone to the locker room with a hand injury. He has not been out yet in this second period of play. We will try and keep you posted once again with Thomas Janssen's injury. And we need a reporter going to the hospital practically tonight.
Eddie Westfall may have to play in the next game for the Islanders. They're really being decimated. And the Hawks have lost a couple tonight, as we've mentioned. Here's Dave Langevin feeding Pat Flatley now to Brent Sutter into Bourne. Bourne behind the net to Brent Sutter. In front to Flatley. He scores! Pat Flatley with a backhander along the ice. And the Islanders have a 3-goal cushion once again.
Pat Flatley made it look easy. And you can see what I mean. He goes to his backhand. He positions himself beautifully in the slot, but doesn't take it on his forehand. Instead, because of the positioning of the puck coming out to him, he has to go to his backhand. But when he gets it, he does a very similar move as he would if he had it on his forehand, and that is just let it go quickly, get it towards the net. Well, those backhands can be tricky ones. It was for Skorodensky. Flatley getting the goal.
21-year-old rookie Pat Flatley, a native of Toronto, played college hockey at the University of Wisconsin, and last year with the Canadian Olympic team. And he just scores to make it 4-1 Islanders. The Islanders shoot it in again. This time it's offside. Flatley, by the way, his 13th goal of the year. Brent Sutter and Bourne the assist. 5 minutes of the second period the time. And it's a 4-1 New York lead. Now the Islanders sending out the big line of Trottier, Bossy, and Tonelli. Chicago with their line of Savard, Olczyk, and Yaremchuk. Here's Ben Wilson flipping one to center ice. Olczyk couldn't catch up with it. Now Dennis Potvin back for New York, shooting one around on the boards. And it comes to Tonelli ahead to number 19, Trottier. Trottier to Bossy. Bossy shoots one. Bad save by Skorodensky. Here's Tonelli to Potvin. His shot wide by about a foot. Now Tonelli. In front of Bossy, a shot, stick save by Skorodensky. And Yaremchuk comes back. Number 15, Yaremchuk. Still has the puck. Yaremchuk centered, but Dennis Potvin, recovering in front of the net, broke it up. Now Dineen unable to clear it further up ice. Olczyk shoots it back in. And it's Potvin over to Trottier, number 19. He passed without looking and put it right onto the Hawks' Steve Ludzik stick, who clears it in. Going in is Steve Larmer. Larmer now to Gardner. A shot. Smith a save on a shot from a sharp angle. Back comes Tonelli for the Islanders. He bounces one wide of the net. Skorodensky clears to Doug Wilson in the corner. He feeds it at center to Larmer, who has scored the Chicago goal. He leaves it for Gardner, and Bill Smith got his blocker out to stop that. And back comes Dwayne Sutter to Helene into the Chicago zone. Murray is there to clear one. And here comes Larmer again. Larmer, number 28, into the slot, shooting. Blocked at the defense by Lane. Now Ludzik behind the net. In front, Larmer's bad angle shot handled by Smith. And Bourne cleared at the center. Jack O'Callahan trying to shoot it back in for Chicago. Dave Langevin breaks that up, and Gordy Lane has it. Cleared it, and once the Hawks touch it, then the play is called on a delayed offside at the Islander blue line. A final score, Edmonton has come back to win at Buffalo 5-4. So the Oilers, who were trailing, bounce back to edge the Sabres 5-4. And that ends Buffalo's unbeaten string at about 9, I believe.
Well, they played to a 1-1 tie last night in Montreal. That must have been quite a game. Scotty Bowman going back to the Montreal Forum, and a very defensive effort by both teams.
Here's the loose puck taken by Frawley for Chicago. His shot blocked. Now the rookie Bergevin chases back to his own blue line to get it. Giving it to O'Callahan, now to Frawley, number 31. Chicago's rookie Dan Frawley clearing it in. Lane back to get it. Patterson into Porchek. And now the Islanders come up with it. And Kerr, number 33, cuts behind his own goal. Alan Kerr now giving it to Lane. Lane up the middle. Tried to pass for Kortko off of his stick. And it's shot back in by Chicago. Lane got it right in front of his own goal. Fortunately, Kortko was there. He's slammered into the boards by Patterson. And Lane has to cover up again. Number 24, Lane. Shoots it into the Chicago zone. Back is Ben Wilson to clear it to Frawley. He got it to center. Potvin intercepting. Now ahead to number 33, Alan Kerr. Kerr got it into the zone, but the Hawks clear it right back out. And now right in front of the Islander bench, a penalty has been called. And New York will be shorthanded. For our local systems, we'll pause.
Top of the right of your screen, Alan Kerr, the young rookie, number 33. He'll be sitting in the penalty box. The Blackhawks will have a chance to get things going again. With Larmer's goal, I thought they were going to pick up the pace, Dan, but the Islanders came right back and scored with Pat Flatley's goal.
So the rookie Kerr getting a penalty. And we'll see if Chicago can get something going on their power play, which has fizzled at home this season. Doug Wilson comes to center and fires it in. Now shot around on the boards. Diddick unable to clear it. Here's Gardner for the Hawks. Gardner trying to work one free. Gardner back to Savard at the point. Dennis Savard moving in, gives it to Wilson. Wilson to Larmer, shoots. Smith the save on Steve Larmer, and Potvin shot it away. And then Smith had been upended, and he hollers at the referee.
I'll point out one thing that the Chicago Blackhawks have got to improve upon. Dougie Wilson shot the puck in. Now, if they dump and chase, those wingers have got to be flying out there. They did not get the puck before the Islanders' defense did. No excuse for that.
Here's Lysiak dropping it to Savard at the point. In on right wing to Larmer. Larmer feeding it into Lysiak to Doug Wilson. Shooting, and Smith to his knees to stop that one. And then the Islanders' Gilbert cleared it out of there.
I don't think the Blackhawks' problem stems from back in the blue line. They have got some guys that can really shoot. It appears to be more so. They're three men up front. They've got to be more aggressive.
Here's Langevin breaking up a rush, but failed to clear it out. Now Langevin intercepts your Rimchuk's pass, and he clears it away. 30 seconds left in the Alan Kerr penalty for the Islanders. Now Skorodinsky almost lost it to Kortko. Here comes your Rimchuk picking up a loose puck, but it's called back on a two-line offside pass, and the faceoff will come into the Chicago zone.
We had reported to you earlier that we had thought Thomas Janssen had a hand injury. We now have an update, and that Thomas Janssen has gone to the hospital and is a left shoulder injury that he apparently has, and that makes now 3 players that have left this game tonight and have headed towards the hospital.
That's unbelievable. And how many did we say the Islanders came into the game without?
7 players. That is over 1/3 of your lineup.
That's why you have the newcomers Kortko and Handy and Kerr all in the game tonight. The Islanders still shorthanded. Kerr with 12 seconds left as the Islanders shoot it in. And number 6, Bob Murray, back to get it. Bob Murray to your Rimchuk. He moves in, drops it to Troy Murray, number 19. In behind the net to your Rimchuk. Then your Rimchuk to Bob Murray. A shot blocked. They score! Troy Murray!
Well, maybe that's just what the doctor ordered. Troy Murray beating Billy Smith in close. Watch, as the Hawks had excellent possession. It started from the point. Bob Murray had it deflected, but there, number 19, to the right of your screen, Troy Murray. He ended up with that puck, and boy, he had Billy Smith caught way out. Smith had gone out to challenge that shot from Bob Murray. It never ended up with Smith getting it. Troy Murray instead Well, we've got ourselves a 4-2 hockey game now, and the Blackhawks have the momentum.
Troy Murray getting the goal as the Hawks got a good bounce of the puck. The Editors have had a couple earlier in this game. Murray out of North Dakota University, popping in the goal on the power play. Was 14th of the year. Bob Murray and Yaremchuk the assist. 10:24 the time. And the Editor lead has been cut to 4-2. The Editors lane beating one out. Trache leaves it for Tonelli. John Tonelli couldn't get around the young defenseman Bergevin. And Chicago starts back. Ludzik, number 29, to center ice. Ludzik flipping one in, a bouncer that Smith clears into the right wing corner for Mike Bossy. Mike Bossy, who scored his 37th goal of the year earlier tonight, to John Tonelli. Long pass that's up too high and goes up over the boards into the Chicago players' bench. The place to stay is USA for exclusive National Hockey League coverage. More in just a moment.
The best six-passenger car value. The Plymouth Reliance Super K. Now we're offering our dealers automatic transmission at no extra cost. These savings may be passed on to you. You can save up to $439. Backed by a 5-year or 50,000-mile protection plan. The 550 Reliance Super K. Match it.
The Editors 4, Chicago 2. Couple of good bounces of the puck led the Editors to a couple of goals. Chicago just got a good bounce as that puck bounced on that last goal right to the stick of Troy Murray. Now back comes Gord Lane for New York. Leaves it to Tonelli, centering pass. Wilson knocks it down, and Bob Murray takes over. Bob Murray lead pass to Gardner, broken up in Lane. Dumps it back in. Gorodensky back to get it for Bob Murray. He cleared one. Tonelli trying to clear it out. Now it's centered and intercepting in front of the goal. And starting back is Rick Patterson, number 26. Patterson couldn't get it through the defense. And Trache comes back for New York. Brian Trache leaving it for Tonelli. Tonelli ridden into the corner by Wilson. Puck is still loose behind the gates of Ludzik, and now finally play is called. Gary, another thought as I watched Chicago the last couple of minutes, they seem very uptight. They're playing tight hockey here at home, and that's part of the problem they've been having.
Well, Dan, really in tonight's game so far, and I don't know exactly how the past has been, but I thought these fans here have been pretty good to their hockey club. They haven't been booing them when they had problems on their power play, and they haven't booed them when they have had trouble getting the puck out of their own zone. So I really don't think that you can say that these Chicago fans are hard on their team the least bit. I think it's more of a question of some bad passing going on by the Blackhawks, some terrible passes at times, and yet they can make some plays that are absolutely beautiful. So some inconsistency here, and that is exactly the word that Orville Tessier used before the game when he was explaining some of the woes of the Blackhawks.
It is Sutter with Gilbert and Flatley against the Savard, Olchek, and Yaremchuk line for Chicago. Yaremchuk trying to clear it up. Potvin held it in. But now Ben Wilson gets it. He got it outside the line. Flatley carrying right back into Brent Sutter. Brent Sutter to Deneen. Deneen shoots, and he fired that wide. Delayed penalty coming up to the Hawks. Potvin drive and a sprawling save by the Chicago goaltender Warren Skorodensky. And he smothered it, and now a penalty which was delayed called against Chicago. And I believe against Dennis Savard.
Well, that it is. Savard going to the penalty box. But on that last play, Skorodensky, he made the save, but Dan, I have some questions as to whether or not Skorodensky knew where that puck was. He went down, and I think that he was hoping a bit. There you will see the penalty occurring. Dennis Savard receiving it just to the left of your screen. You can see Savard guilty without question. But watch this save by Skorodensky. He has it between his pads, and when a goaltender makes a save between his pads, he never really knows for sure whether that puck is behind him or in front of him or where it is, but he goes down and hopes for the best. You can thank your lucky stars right now if you're a Chicago Blackhawks fan that puck that time bounced in your favor.
Now Chicago will be shorthanded. Savard in the box. The Editors with a 4-2 lead. Getting ready for this faceoff. Deep in Chicago zone. And winning the draw is Olczyk from Gilbert. The rookie Olczyk trying to clear it. Potvin held it in. Now into the corner, Doug Wilson. Tries to clear one. Cleared it on the board. Potvin held it in for New York. Back of the goal. Brent Sutter gets free. To Flatley. Matt Flatley now back to the point to Bob Bourne. Bourne, number 14. Over to Potvin. Back to Bourne. Return to Potvin. In on right wing to Gilbert. Centered to Flatley, but off his skate. And the Hawks get it. And Troy Murray with a long shot that Smith makes a body save on. 1:18 left in the Hawk penalty. Here's Bourne. To Gilbert. Sliding it in, but Patterson is there for Chicago. Patterson knocked down on the play, and as he fell right on top of the puck. Let's go to Al Trudwick quickly here.
Well, Dan Kelly, we're looking forward to our second intermission in between periods 2 and 3 right down in our studio. We'll have John Tonelli with us. John, of course, one of the great muckers in the corner in the entire National Hockey League. And I want to find out how John feels about Billy Smith. I don't know if I'll get an answer, but I'm going to ask that question at the end of the second period.
Keith Brown just back in the Chicago lineup after an injury problem. The Islanders still in a power play. The Islanders with a 26.2 percentage with the man advantage. 39 power play goals coming into this game tonight. They have the man advantage right now, and here's Dineen over to Bourne. In on the wing to Bossy. Bossy flipping it through, gets it to Trottier. Patterson pinning Trottier in against the board. Now Ben Wilson comes up with the puck. A quick pass to Patterson. Patterson actually stepped in the puck and fell down. Gets up again, still controls it, and then flipped it over the boards at the Chicago bench. Well, you know things are going badly when you step on the puck and fall down, and that's what Rick Patterson just did for Chicago.
Well, we talk about the injury situation. One thing that fans at home do not realize, Dan, and that's the financial burden that it has on a hockey team when they have so many injuries. I can remember the year that we had a lot of injuries in Washington. It added $750,000 practically to our payroll because of the fact that the players that are injured playing for you, they are still on their NHL Major League salary. The players coming up who were previously on an American League or Central League salary, a minor league salary anyway, they all of a sudden you have to escalate their pay to a Major League role, so you're increasing your salaries tremendously. It really burdens the financial, takes away from that good old budget.
Here's Tonelli on right wing, getting it to Mike Bossy. Bossy into the corner. Now it comes to Trottier, back to Potvin. Potvin shoots one. Gorodetsky the save, rebound, and Trottier, he shoots, he scores! Trottier with Gorodetsky down on the ice and out of position. Trottier could take his time, could take aim, and he didn't miss.
Well, a couple of keys on that goal. First of all, you might look for Mike Bossy. Well, Wilson was on top of Bossy. You can see Doug Wilson practically tackling Mike Bossy, and a good person to tackle because Bossy usually scores. But who had Trottier? Well, no one had Trottier, and Trottier found himself with an open net. Gorodetsky was laying flat on the ice. So were a couple of other Blackhawk players, and Trottier found himself with an empty net and his second goal of the game.
First time I've seen Warren Gorodetsky, Gary, and the immediate reaction I had is he takes himself out of the play quite a bit by going down or going out of the net so quickly to one side or the other.
That's been pretty evident in the last minute of play when he just had one shot on him, I believe, but this second period he has really been scrambling in between the pipes for the Blackhawks.
Here's Langevin shooting one into the Chicago zone, but it's called an offside. 5:29 remaining in the second period. For our local systems, we'll pause now. It's the NHL, the Chicago zone. Gorodetsky out of the net to clear it, and he gets it up ice to number 18, Savard. Savard tied up by Helene, shot it behind the goal. And Dave Langevin now feeds it, and Dwayne Sutter has it. Dropping it to number 20, Helene, ahead to Bourne. Bourne trying to center. Ben Wilson there to intercept for the Hawks. Cleared it. Dwayne Sutter knocked it down and shot it behind the net. Now Olchek coming up with the puck. We have an altercation going. Dwayne Sutter and Ben Wilson, and here they go. One of them was going to get a penalty already, and then they drop their sticks and start to throw punches.
I believe it was going to be to Dwayne Sutter because the Blackhawks had possession of the puck and referee Don Koharski was not whistling it. And then the fracas broke out. Dwayne Sutter and Ben Wilson. I'll tell you, those Sutters are tough, but Ben Wilson, he is one of the stronger, bigger, tougher players in this league. When he decides he wants to fight, and he can really go at it. That wasn't what you would call a major league scrap right there, but linesman breaking it up. Ben Wilson going to the penalty box, and so will Dwayne Sutter.
Who did you think was going to get the original penalty, Gary?
I thought it was going to be to the Islanders, Dan, because of the fact that the Blackhawks had the puck behind their net, and referee Don Koharski was not whistling it. So whether or not he was watching the play and didn't whistle it, we will have to wait and find out.
Well, I have a minor penalty posted against Sutter, so that would appear to be the case, and plus that, they'll get majors. Here's the announcement now. Slashing to Sutter plus the 5-minute major for fighting. And Wilson just gets the 5-minute major for fighting. So the Islanders will be shorthanded because of the original minor penalty to Sutter.
Well, you can see it to the left of your screen, Don Koharski, he had his hand up and the Blackhawks still had possession. So you knew right away that the Islanders were being assessed a minor, at least. But then Dwayne Sutter and Ben Wilson getting into it. More of a wrestling match than a fight. But Dwayne Sutter getting that additional 2 minutes.
4:38 to play, second period. And the Islanders with a 5-2 lead will be shorthanded now.
Well, the gum-chomping Steve Larmer out there right now. And he will attempt to get this Blackhawk team back a little bit closer, and Larmer has already scored 1 goal in tonight's game. That was Chicago's first goal of the game.
Meanwhile, Pat Flatleg comes over to serve the minor penalty to Dwayne Sutter. And here is Dennis Potvin for New York, shooting it into the Chicago zone. Doug Wilson, number 24, former Norris Trophy winner. Feeds Tom Lysiak, number 12. Lysiak stopping to make a play to Savard. Dennis Savard to Doug Wilson. Wilson trying to shot. Deneen blocks that, and it's Gilbert clearing it out of there. Here's Gilbert again with the puck into Brent Sutter, but Lysiak took it away from him. Have a Hawk start back, led by Savard. He fires it in. Digging in on right wing is Larmer. Now it comes to Troy Murray, back to Savard at the point. Number 18, Savard to Doug Wilson. Wilson to Lysiak. To Savard, a shot. That deflects into the corner. Now Lysiak centers one to Doug Wilson. Wilson on the power play to Steve Larmer. Larmer too closely checked, now gets it to Troy Murray. Murray to Doug Wilson. Over to Savard. Back to Wilson. Wilson shooting. And a stick save by Smith. And then it deflects up over the glass and into the crowd.
Billy Smith making that kick save. The Blackhawks had good possession. They set up well, but they have having difficult times getting that puck to key people in the slot. Ludwig, number 29, he was in the slot right in front of Billy Smith, but yet the Islanders position themselves so well, killing penalties.
Another final score, Quebec winners over the Detroit Red Wings 5-2. The Nordiques, who have been a much improved team in recent weeks, winners over Detroit. Now Chicago still on a power play as they drop it back to Gardner at the point. Over to Bob Murray, now centered, and John Tonelli intercepts, cleared it, not out. Now on the second try, did get it, and Tonelli breaks away with Trottier 2-on-1. To Trottier, and Trottier missed the open side of the net as he tried for the hat trick. Now Tonelli a shot. Gorodensky stops that and then clears the rebound, and Yaremchuk drops it back of his own goal. Steve Ludzik into the corner to get it. To Bob Murray behind the net. Bob Murray moving up ice. To Yaremchuk. Yaremchuk in across the line, puts on the brakes. Tried to drop it back. Now does get it to Bob Murray. Shoots one. Stopped by Smith and then cleared away. Olczyk into the corner. Now Flatley just out of the penalty box. And Pat Flatley gets the puck and gives it to Gilbert, who plays the boards into the Chicago zone. Gorogodensky leaving it for Gardner. Gardner working it out onto the board. Stolen by the Auditors. Brent Sutter. They score! Bob Bourne set up by Brent Sutter. And it's 6-2 for New York. Boy, when the Auditors get a chance, they usually make the best of it.
Well, Bob Bourne just bats this one home, but it was a good play right from Brent Sutter's pass. You can see Bourne walking right into the slot. Now, the Chicago Blackhawks were really caught disorganized on that play, Dan. They had a power play, had failed. In fact, the Islanders had a much better opportunity than they did when the Islanders broke down on a 2-on-1 while still killing the penalty. But then, as so often you see, Blackhawks were not fully organized, and it showed on Bourne's goal.
6-2, the Auditors lead. For Bob Bourne, by the way, only his 8th goal of the season. Here's Brent Sutter, who set that last goal up, giving it to the rookie Jerry Diddick. He shoots it in, and O'Callahan is back for Chicago. Number 5, O'Callahan. Less than 2 minutes to play here in the second period. Over to McMillan, who shot it in. Dennis Potvin back to get it, now to Bourne. Headmanning it to Brent Sutter. Brent Sutter just dumps it in and then heads for the bench at a line change. And Mark Bergevin has it for Chicago to Troy Murray. Murray, number 19. Checked by Tonelli. And Lane feeds Trottier. Now to Bossy. Back to Trottier. Broken up at the line or at the defense by O'Callahan. And back comes Troy Murray. Couldn't get around Dave Langevin. And Trottier behind his own goal to Lane. Now to Bossy. And the Auditors come very smartly out of their own zone. Bossy to Tonelli. Tonelli checked. Olczyk cleared it outside the line. Shot back in by Langevin. And it's offside at the Chicago line.
One thing that's noticeable about the Blackhawks, Dan, and I don't want to be too critical about them, but I think they are suffering from not having Al Secord in the lineup, and since they lost Kurt Fraser in the first part of this game, and also without Daryl Sutter. Those are tough, aggressive, intense players. And I just think up front, especially right now, the Blackhawks need some muscle. They are getting badly out-muscled in situations in the Islander end zone and don't have that same amount of intensity that they have with those other 3 players in the lineup.
The Islanders shoot it in. That last Islander scoring play. Bourne is 8th of the year. Brent Sutter and Flatley the assist. 17:43 the time. Puck loose in the center ice area. Dennis Potvin breaks that up. Feeds Trottier, who gets it into the Chicago zone. And Keith Brown is there to pick it up. He gives it to Doug Wilson. Now Tonelli and Wilson battle behind the net. Here's Keith Brown getting into it with Trottier as they grab a hold of each other, and the linesmen race in to intercept those two. We're down, by the way, to just 34 seconds left in the second period.
We just finished talking about the importance of that strength, the intensity, the aggressiveness. Well, 2 of the finer in this game out there doing it right now and causing some problems for the Blackhawks, and that is the Islanders' Brian Trottier and John Tonelli. And when you talk about forechecking and intensity, that's almost their middle name.
So penalties handed out here by the referee Koharski. Or it seems to be just the one penalty, only to Trottier. So the Auditors will be short-handed.
Brian Trottier.
34 seconds left in the second period. I think you've hit on a couple of good points regarding Chicago, Gary. They have been knocked off the puck a great deal by these Islanders tonight, and their passing has been very erratic, but that can come from tough checking. When you're on the lookout for somebody to knock you on the seat of your pants, you don't make as nice a pass as you might normally.
Good point. You have got to be aggressive in this game, and if you're sitting back waiting to get hit or waiting to make a bad pass, that's exactly what's going to happen. Passing is so important, and especially on power play situations. Wayne Sutter right now, he is
He's down in the
Down in the
alleyway
corridor.
towards the Islander locker room because he's serving a major penalty. Face-off coming up in the Chicago zone. 34 seconds left in the period.
Orville Tessier said it was getting so bad at home on the power play that he was considering declining power play opportunities and just playing even strength instead.
Well, he has another opportunity right here, and coming out of there is Larmer, but Deneen broke it up. Now it's Lysiak flipping it in to Troy Murray. Murray, number 19, shoots it around on the boards to Doug Wilson. Wilson over to the other point to Savard. Dennis Savard shoots one, blasted it wide. Wilson, the rebound, hit the goal post, and then the Auditors, Deneen, cleared it over to Gilbert. He couldn't get it out of there. Chicago holding it in. Larmer and Deneen fight for it just as the buzzer goes to end the second period here at Chicago Stadium. And the Auditors in command of this game. Coming up, John Tonelli, one of the best left wingers in all of the NHL, and certainly one of the best. The Islanders 6, the Blackhawks 2. Al Trudvig in our intermission.
Capitals, who have been playing pretty good hockey lately, challenging for the top spot in the Patrick Division. They'll be facing the Minnesota North Stars, who are trying to solve the mystery of this NHL season for them. 7:30 Eastern Time, North Stars and Capitals here on USA. The Islanders exploding in that second period. Chicago having problems on the power play, 6-2. The Islanders lead here after 2 periods of play. With me in the studio, someone I always enjoy talking to for the Islanders. Always look for him to be, well, I guess you'd have to say the workaholic of the National Hockey League. John Tonelli. John, the Islanders facing that power play from Chicago time and time again, and yet still the defense comes up big, and then the offense gets one small opening, and they're able to put the puck in consistently.
Yeah, it usually happens that way, you know, when the other team has a lot of power play opportunities, and if we can stop them, you know, usually, you know, if we get a break, we can put it in the net.
John, the Islanders have won three in a row, so that's a good sign. But a few weeks ago, there was a feeling on the team that some of the veterans weren't exactly playing as good as they could. So there was a meeting, I guess, with Bill Torrey and some of the veterans. But haven't you guys heard all the rah-rah speeches by now?
Well, you know, it always helps, especially when it comes from the top. Bill Torrey, he's a man that's well respected in the dressing room, and there's one thing that all the veterans know in the New York Islanders, that we have to play hard. We have to go out there with a lot of intensity, and if we don't, you know, we know we're going to get sent somewhere else.
And after Butch Goring was picked up on waivers by Boston, everyone said, oh, shake-up of the team. Does that really happen? I mean, do you really feel that Butch Goring's departure shook up the Islanders, and now they're on the verge of perhaps 4 straight?
It's a tough question. I got a chance to be close to Butch Goring. He's I respected him a great deal, and he meant a lot to the hockey club. But I think, you know, it was in his favor that he left, you know, because they weren't using him with the Islanders, and now he's playing in Boston, and they're using him, and that's what Butch Goring wants deep down inside, is to play the game.
And in Butch, we're talking about a real nice guy. And tonight we saw a situation with Kurt Fraser and Billy Smith, and I'm going to ask this as gingerly as I can. Billy Smith can at times, I would think, embarrass the Islanders for how classy they've been. What I'd like to know from you, has there ever been a situation where the players in the locker room have openly criticized Billy in the way he plays at any time?
Not since I've been there, you know. It's just, there again, he's quite a competitor in the nets, and his job is to see the puck from the point or anywhere. And a lot of times the people don't see that players from the other team are going in there to interfere with him and not let him do his job. And he's just making sure that somehow, some way he can do his job and see the hockey puck out there.
The reason I ask that is because a member of the Blackhawks organization walked by before as Kurt Fraser was taken out, and they said Billy Smith is going to leave a black mark on his career along the way. And when you think about it, Billy said so many great things happened to him in his career, and to leave himself wide open for criticism by doing things like that on the ice doesn't seem to be very smart.
Well, then again, you don't see everything out there. There's a lot of times when somebody gives Billy a cheap shot, and then people don't see that because they just see Billy because he's the center of attraction. He's the guy stopping the pucks. They see him doing the slashing and keeping his crease clean. That's his job, and that's the way he does it, and has been doing all his career.
Okay, off of that and on to John Tonelli. Last night I saw you. Tonight you're doing the same thing. You always seem to be busy, working hard. You and I have talked about this many, many times. You still excited about working as hard as you do? I mean, you seem to put in, it's an old phrase, but 110%.
Well, I've worked hard to get to the NHL, and I know I have to work hard to stay here. I'm having more fun playing this game than I ever have, ever since the Canada Cup started, and playing with some other individuals throughout the league, and it's just been a lot of fun for me this year.
Now that you've perhaps gotten over the fact that the cup is gone and you have to get it back. Secretly, is that a great challenge? Has that made it more fun to go and get that cup back?
It's a tremendous challenge. It really is. I think it'd be a lot of character if we could get back to the finals, work our way to the finals and get another shot at it. I think that's on everybody's mind.
All right, John, thanks again.
Thanks,
John Tonelli of the New York Islanders, our guest here in between periods. And for being with us, we'd like him to have a pair of gray line shorts and a Velcro wallet from Toyota Lines, genuine Toyota sportswear. And we're going to give him a Kodak disc camera. Just pull it out of your pocket and it's ready, aim, shoot, and smile. Because you're going to get it with the Kodak disc camera. We take you back to some Islanders history. December 31st, 1980, the greatest winning margin for the Islanders for a road game. 9 goals. They beat the Blackhawks here 9-zip one night in Chicago Stadium, and they're up in front right.
How important an advertising medium is cable television?
The nice thing about cable is there are national shows and whatnot, but in the breaks, it's all local.
Cable television works well for advertisers like you because dollar for dollar, cable television reaches more of the people you want to reach the way you want to reach them. Local advertisers like you are putting money into cable television because they've discovered cable television combines the sight, sound, movement, and color of broadcast television with the ability to target your message to the audience you really want to reach.
Cable television seemed to have more of an impact. But with cable, we had all the employees, and all day long people could walk in and say, hey, I saw you on cable, or I saw Jim on cable, or I saw Steve on cable.
Call Adrian Hughes Lockwood & Associates at 439-5500 for more information.
Watching tonight's game in Chicago, you really have to notice the Islanders' offensive confidence. I was at the game in New York last night against Philadelphia. They exhibited the same kind of flair on offense. They were trailing 3-2. There were only 3 minutes left to go in the game, and they exploded for 2 quick goals. John Tonelli scored the game winner, as a matter of fact, and they eventually won in an open net goal by 5-3. So they're cruising offensively. We're going to turn you back to USA Control right now for the Wall Street Journal Weekend Memo. Here's William Bruce.
The so-called lawyer glove.
Final 4, and he wants his LSU Tigers to taste it again. But first, they must survive the Southeast Conference. John Williams and Nikita Wilson lead the Tigers against the Brothers Laird and the Ole Miss Rebels. Thursday, live at 8 p.m. Eastern on USA.
This is the USA Network.
Back live in Chicago, I'm Al Troutwig, welcoming you back to USA Sports coverage of the National Hockey League. Islanders running away with this one 6-2. How bad is it for the home folks in Chicago? Coming onto the ice, the Zamboni ran into the boards here at Chicago Stadium. Let's go up to Dan Kelly and Gary Lee Green.
Okay, Mr. Green, too much Islanders scoring prowess in that second period, really the difference. They outscored the Hawks 4-2.
Well, the Islanders really looked like they wanted it out there, Dan, and wanted it badly. On the other hand, Chicago doing too much reaching as far as my likes out there. Intensity, hustle, you got to get to that puck first. You got to want to get to the puck first. The Islanders definitely did.
Let's look at the last 2 goals of the period. A power play goal by Trottier, and then a goal by Bob Bourne. First, Trottier's goal.
Well, granted, they were a man short here, and so the Hawks have to try and play the box. Wilson taking out Bossy in front of the screen, just to the bottom of your screen, but Trottier, he moved from the left and came right through the slot, found that puck, and ended up putting it in the net. There we'll see on this next one with Bourne and Sutter, Brent Sutter that is, connecting on the play. Bobby Bourne from almost identical positions, Dan. That slot is so crucial. You have to protect that area. The goaltender cannot go way out and take out a player in that area. Yet, let's not let Skorodensky off the cuff either, because off the hook, I should say, because he was doing lots of flopping around out there, not standing up and playing the angles. Something that Tony Esposito, somebody that's upstairs with us here tonight, he used to do very well here in the Chicago Pipes.
Well, Skorodensky seems to make the first save, but he is then so much out of position for a rebound, it's really cost he and his club a couple of times so far tonight.
Well, I'm not sure whether that's characteristic of his play all the time, but coming into this game, whether or not he was prepared to play, thought he was going to play, he may not just be playing his style of game right now, but if that's his style, well, he's going to have to do a lot of correcting on it, because you got to stand up in this league, play your positions, and cut down those angles, and you can't be flip-flopping all about.
Meanwhile, the Islanders, Al Trudvig, may be injury-riddled, but they've looked pretty sharp to me here this evening.
Well, Dan, I did have a chance to watch a couple of seconds of that second period. I tell you, Alan Kerr and Roger Kortko, Deneen, some of these young players that have had to fill some of the spots on the Islanders roster, while they may make some young mistakes, overall, I think their play has been something to marvel at for the Islanders. You have to go to their scouting system again. They've done a good job to prepare them for this injury problem. 6-2, Islanders lead the Chicago Blackhawks. We've got the third period coming up live, coast to coast on USA Sports.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. So bring out the sun, bring on the fun. You got the goods, get out and run.
Hey, get your kicks in America's favorite sport utility vehicle, S10 Blazer. With standard features like a new fuel-injected Tech 4 engine, gas shocks, and instant track on 4x4 Blazers.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck.
Introducing the complete nail buffing system by Lee. Everything you need. Shape a better shape. Smooth ridges. Condition and shine with exclusive Lee buffing cream and the unique Lee two-sided natural buffer. Side 1 for cream, side 2 for a fast, glorious shine. Dull nails become shining natural nails, or the smoothest possible base for polish. The complete nail buffing system by Lee.
Folks, it's after Christmas now. It's New Year's, it's January. All our big and tall merchandise that you see here is on sale. We have velour shirts, whatever left, 20% off. Some of them are 50% off. We have leather jackets the same way. Here, you want a good buy, come on and we'll save you some bucks on it. We want to get rid of it. We got spring stuff coming in. We have no room here. Come on down, we'll take care of you. Here's a good-looking Argyle sweater left after Christmas, 20% off.
That's Morris Men's and Young Men's Store, 23 North Beeson Boulevard, downtown Uniontown.
Hi, I'm Don Kreshock, General Manager.
The NHL on USA is sponsored by Honda, who invites you to see the CRX SI at your local Honda dealer. We're back live at Chicago Stadium, and the New York Islanders with a 6-2 lead here after 2 periods of play as we await the return of the two teams for third period action here at Chicago Stadium. Scoring summary in the second period. Bossy made it 3-0 Islanders at 1:37. And Larmer scored for Chicago at 3:26 to cut it to 3-1. But Pat Flatley got his 13th of the year at the 5-minute mark, and it was 4-1. Then Troy Murray scored for Chicago at 10:24 to cut the Islander lead to 4-2 again. But then Trottier on the power play at 14:13, and Bourne at 17:43, opening up a 4-goal lead as we await the start of period number 3. The shots on goal in the game have been quite even. 20 shots on goal against Billy Smith for Chicago, and 19 by the Blackhawks, or at least by the Islanders. So very even in the shots on goal, but a big 4-goal lead here for the New York Islanders.
Mike Bossy got that second period underway by scoring that very early goal, Dan. And Bossy has had an excellent start as well this year. If you double the number of goals that he has right now, that was his 37th tonight. That would put him at a record pace in 80 games. His best year ever in the NHL was back in 78-79 when he scored 69 goals. He's come close to that. In 80-81, he had 68, but last year 51. But already at 37 goals, and Mike Bossy, John Tonelli, and Brent Sutter all getting started very well for the Islanders this year, and it had a lot to do with their play in Team Canada in the Canada Cup, and that line was absolutely outstanding and helped Canada win the Canada Cup.
I was talking earlier about Brent Sutter being in 5th place in the scoring race. Bossy is in 3rd place in the scoring race. One of the Chicago players up in the press box, Jerome Dupont, a defenseman who's not suited up this evening. So they have had excellent production, and of course you expect that from Bossy, but Brent Sutter has really blossomed forth as one of their big weapons this year.
I can remember Al Arbor saying that very early in the season when I asked him about Brent Sutter and that line, whether he was going to keep them intact. And he said that he was really pleased to see Brent Sutter play so well in Canada Cup because he really likes Brent Sutter as a hockey player and felt that that was going to help Brent Sutter come into his own. And Al Arbour was right, as he usually is. Brent Sutter has gotten off to an excellent start this season.
Third period underway, and the Auditors are short-handed. Strachey still in the penalty box. He has a minute 17 to serve. The Auditors hold it in with Potvaz's long shot, turned aside by Skorodensky. And now it's cleared in behind the Chicago goal. And the Hawks' Dennis Savard is back to get it. Savard, number 18. Moving out of his own zone. Long shot into the Auditor zone. Now cleared. Doug Wilson holding it in. Over to Savard, back to Wilson. Into Steve Larmer. His shot blocked. And now Wilson gets it. Number 24, Wilson shoots. He scores! Troy Murray may have deflected it in. We'll wait and see. Wilson let it fly, and Troy Murray may have deflected it. We'll wait and see.
The Blackhawks will be giving it the old hallelujah finally on the power play. They get to score. Wilson shoots, but watch the puck closely. Dan Kelly mentioned that it may have been deflected by Troy Murray. It sure looked as though it did. You can see Wilson taking the shot, and there is Troy Murray. Troy Murray was standing in an excellent position as well, screening Billy Smith, staying out of the way of his stick, but yet still cutting down on that angle that Billy could see the puck from, and I believe it was a tip-in.
Here comes Bossy right back for New York with a shot wide. It hit the backboards with such velocity it goes all the way back into the Auditor zone, and Gord Dineen is there to get it. He gives it to number 22, Mike Bossy. Bossy now to Tonelli. Return to Bossy. Bossy through center ice on right wing into the Chicago zone. Skorodensky the save. And a backhand try by Tonelli on the rebound. Went wide. Now it's Ludzik coming back for Chicago. Steve Ludzik into a bad angle, trying to center one. Ludzik still with the puck. Now cleared it behind the goal, and Dave Langevin uses the boards to clear it down the ice. Skorodensky setting it up back there, and here comes Murray. Bob Murray, a long pass. Down the ice it goes. And as Dennis Potvaz goes back to play the puck, it's an icing call against Chicago. Troy Murray did get the goal, by the way.
Well, there may be a little snow on your roof there, Dan, but your eyes are 100% solid gold because Troy Murray did indeed tip that puck. Assist to Doug Wilson and Dennis Savard. 40 seconds into this third period, power play goal for the Blackhawks, and that could just give the Blackhawks a little spark. Now, it won't do them the least bit of good if they just come back out one shift after another and don't give it that same solid effort.
What's this snow on my roof, Jazz?
Well, there's a few gray hairs up there, Mr. Kelly.
I have picked those up since working with you. Here's Dennis Savard to center ice. Into the Auditor zone. Diddick took him out of the play. Potvaz breaks it up, trying to clear it, held in by Olczyk. His centering pass, Savard deflected it wide. Now Bob Murray trying to hold it in. Here's Olczyk, shoots one. Smith the save on that. Yaremchuk centering one. And Brent Sutter intercepted and gives it to Pat Flatley. Now Savard jumping it right back in for Chicago. Billy Smith out of the goal. Over on the wing to Gilbert. Gilbert shot at the center, and Flatley races in on right wing. Flatley to Brent Sutter, deflected wide. And Jack O'Callahan tried to clear it out. Gilbert holding it in to Flatley. Shoots one. Glove save by Warren Skorodensky. And he held on to it. Coast-to-coast coverage of the NHL is right here on USA Sports.
From its precision handling, this might appear to be Honda's sports car. From its sophisticated engine and front-wheel drive, you might assume this is Honda's performance car. Its roomy interior might even suggest that this is Honda's family car. But don't let appearances fool you. This is Honda's lowest priced car.
A 6-3 Islander lead, 17:27 left in the third period. And a face-off in the Hawk zone, won by Chicago, and Troy Murray flips it near the Islander line. Langevin giving it to Bourne. Number 14, Bourne. He's out there with Helene and Dwayne Sutter. Now Deneen to Dwayne Sutter, but his pass intercepted by Troy Murray, and Bergevin feeds Murray now to Bob McMillan. Ahead on left wing to Lysiak. Tom Lysiak dropping it back for Troy Murray. Can't get it in front. Smith intercepting it, and the puck winds up on the mesh of the Ottander goal, and Billy Smith says a Hawk player put it there, so it should be moved outside the blue line.
Tell you a little bit about the Blackhawks in the third period of play. When they are losing going into the third, they have only won 3 games so far this year. There you'll see how that puck ended up on the back of the net. Now, the question is, did Dave Langevin put it there?
Oh, I think Billy Smith was right that an Islander or a Blackhawk put it there.
He was as well, but the faceoff is coming inside the blue line.
At last scoring play, a power play goal. Troy Murray from Doug Wilson and Savard at the 42nd mark to cut the Ottander lead to 6-3. Now it's Lysiak and Trottier on a faceoff. Won by Trottier and Gord Deneen. Number 2 flips it back of his own goal to Dave Langevin. Langevin to Dwayne Sutter. Held in by Bergevin. Now Langevin up the middle to Trottier into Bourne. He's checked, and Bergevin starts back. Bergevin couldn't get it out of the zone. Now Jack O'Callahan will try to Bob McMillan, number 11. McMillan clearing it in. Langevin shoots it right back out for New York. Matt Celine after the puck. Knocked down by Lysiak, and Ben Wilson gets it for the Hawks. Number 23, Wilson. Into the center ice area to number 19, Troy Murray, who has scored 2 of the Chicago goals. Into Lysiak, now to McMillan. McMillan can't center it out, and Dwayne Sutter sees an opening and just shoots it out of there. He'll take the icing call. They have plenty of confidence in their center iceman's abilities to win faceoffs, and Dwayne Sutter took no chance at all.
This game is authorized under television rights granted by the National Hockey League. It's presented solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, and other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the National Hockey League is strictly prohibited.
A little white on my roof, huh?
Oh, you're never going to let...
Oh, boy.
I know you just dye your hair a little bit, Dan, to give you that mature look. I know.
A natural look. Here's Bill Gardner on the faceoff, winning the draw. And Diddick cleared it off the boards to center. Wilson has it there over to Brown. Brown shooting it to the Islander line. Picked up by Ludzik, number 29. Ludzik centers. There's Ben Wilson right in, and he's shot wide. Now Gardner centering it in front. Here's Ben Wilson controlling it. Into Ludzik. Over to Gardner. Bill Gardner behind the goal. Now Larmer trying to center. And John Tonelli gets it for New York. Wilson pinching in from the point to hold it in. Now Tonelli breaks loose. John Tonelli over to Trottier, now to Diddick. Jerry Diddick shooting it in, but back of the play, we're going to get a penalty, and it's going to be against Gord Lane.
Who does he want? He is pretty upset right now.
He's upset at somebody.
He doesn't want to go to that penalty box. He wants a piece of one of those Blackhawks. We're not sure which one.
Right on through the Stanley Cup Finals. It's the NHL on USA Sports. We'll be right back.
When you've got a long way to go, it's nice to go with a friend.
The 1985 Toyota Standard Bed truck toughened up this year with more horsepower than ever, so you know it can carry its share of the load. The new Toyota Standard Bed truck at only $59.98.
Friend, you're worth twice the price.
Gord Lane in the penalty box for the Islanders. 2 minutes for slashing was the call. 4:41 was the time, and this gives the Chicago Blackhawks another power play opportunity. And we'll see whether they can score on this one. That could put them within 2.
They scored earlier in this period on a power play. The Islanders shoot it into the Chicago zone, and Troy Murray back to get it, feeding it out on right wing to Larmer. Larmer upended by Potvin, and Deneen back to get the puck, trying to clear it out. Wilson held it in. Into Lysiak. Number 12, Tom Lysiak to Troy Murray. Now to Doug Wilson. A drive. Smith the save. They score! Lysiak on the rebound. 2 power play goals in a row for the Blackhawks.
Well, things are starting to come together for the Blackhawks. Watch, once again, it originates from the point on the shot from Wilson. You can see Billy Smith way out to his right, cutting down the angle. But Smith made the original pad save with his left pad, kicked it right square out to Tom Lysiak, who said thank you, and he put that one home.
Tom Lysiak getting the goal. Former Atlanta Flame gets his 8th goal of the season. And the Hawks have scored 2 power play goals in a row here in the 3rd period. The Editors, by the way, had gone 5 straight games without giving up a power play goal. And they give up 2 in a row here in the 3rd. Now the Editors dump it in, and this will be an icing call against New York. Lysiak the goal. Savard and Doug Wilson the assist, 5:11 the time. And maybe Orville Tessier and the Blackhawks power play has come alive.
Well, it would appear that way, at least in this 3rd period. We couldn't say that in the 1st or 2nd. I was talking about those statistics, Dan. When the Blackhawks are behind entering the 3rd period, out of those 18 games that they have been behind, they have only come back to win 3. But yet, when they are leading going into the 3rd period, they have only lost 1. They are 12-1-1 when they are leading. So that shows a lot of confidence by the Blackhawks when they have the lead, but does not show tremendous comeback character of a team when they are down going into that 3rd. Maybe tonight will be different here at Chicago Stadium.
The Hawks have gone 0 for 6 on the power play in this game before striking here for 2 in a row in the 3rd period. Now it's Dwayne Sutter clearing one off the boards to center ice, and the Editors, or the Hawks, have to go back. Now Helene intercepts a pass. He moves in for New York. Helene behind the net, taken out by Brown. Then Wilson now clearing it to Olchek. And he shot it to center ice. Bourne passes to number 20, Helene, who cleared it in. The Hawks have cut the Editor lead to 2 goals. Here's a centering pass for Dwayne Sutter right through the crease. Now Langevin at the point. Gorodensky the save on that. And he came out to grab a loose bouncing puck and held on to it.
I'll say this much in the 3rd period. Maybe Warren Skorodensky was listening to you and I in between periods, because he has been much better at holding his position, standing up on the play, being a little bit more alert than he was in the 2nd period. You can see some of the work Skorodensky has got. He was quick to that puck, scooped it up, and held on to it for a stoppage of play. A good time to get it for Warren Skorodensky, because the Islanders were putting on the pressure.
Those 2 Chicago goals have brought this crowd to life. They chant, "Let's go Hawks." Hawks go. Here they get ready for a face-off. Gardner against Brent Sutter. Flatley now clearing it into the corner. Here's Brent Sutter, poke check by O'Callahan. Now Bergevin, the rookie, trying to clear it out, and it is poked to Gardner. He couldn't get it out of the zone. Apparently it did come out and then was shot back in offside at the Chicago blue line. Well, these 2 goals by Chicago have really erupted this crowd, and they are right behind the Blackhawks now.
Well, if they can complain about being a little tense when they're at home and things aren't going well, I'll tell you, these fans here in Chicago can be worth a couple of goals to you when you start showing them that you mean business. And right now in this 3rd period, the Blackhawks are in motion, and the fans are behind them.
Here's Chicago from the face-off as Larmer moves down ice. Tied up by Diddick, dropping it back for the rookie Bergevin. Clearing it to Larmer again, on into the corner to Ludzik. Ludzik centers one. Here's O'Callahan, a shot. That's blocked, and Gilbert comes back for New York with a pass to Flatley. Bergevin back for Chicago, number 2. Mark Bergevin, 19-year-old rookie. Clearing it. Brent Sutter intercepts Steve Larmer's pass. Gives it to Gilbert, who shoots it right back in for New York. Now Bergevin. Number 2. Bergevin feeding Ludzik. Janine took him out of the play. Janine back to get the loose puck. And Gord Janine, a pass to Tonelli. Tonelli now to Trache. And across the line, broken up. Cleared. Janine at the point, held it in. To Tonelli back to the net, but he missed it. And Troy Murray cleared it behind his own goal. Number 12, Lysiak. Leaving it there for Bergevin, now to McMillan. To Troy Murray. Murray to Lysiak, and offside is the play at the Islander blue line. For our local systems, we'll pause now. You're watching the NHL on USA.
Hi, I'm Dave Belcastro, General Manager of Falcone Toyota in Washington, Pennsylvania. We are having the largest truck sale ever, and I mean the largest truck sale ever. Is your time worth $3,784? Of course it is. Take that short drive to Falcone Toyota in Washington, Pennsylvania, and save up to $3,784.
In Washington, take Jefferson Avenue off Route 40, then Route 18 north 3 miles to Falcone Toyota.
Could Hager make suits that...
The Herbalife Success Special, originally scheduled for 11 p.m. Eastern Time, will be seen at 11:30 tonight here on USA. I'm Dan Kelly, Gary Green alongside Al Trudwick down in our USA studio. Hope you're enjoying the Islanders and the Hawks. Here's Troy Murray stealing one. He was upended. The fans here thought that the Islanders should have had a penalty, but none was called, and New York cleared down the ice. Going back to get it is number 6, Bob Murray. Bob Murray feeding one to Lysiak, to McMillan. He leaves it for Troy Murray. Drop pass to McMillan. McMillan moving in. Smith the save. Rebound, and Doug Wilson shot it wide. Now Keith Brown with a shot from the point. Gets it in behind the goal. Troy Murray trying to center to McMillan. He couldn't get it in front. Deneen then clearing it. Here's Brown at the point. A shot, that's wide. Bounced in front, and Smith came out to poke it away. And now Bossy for New York. Stick handles out of his own zone. Tried to scoop it into the Chicago zone, but scooped it right up over the glass. And the Blackhawks came very close on their last rush up the ice to cutting the Islander lead to just 1 goal.
Well, Doug Wilson was a part of both of the goals, or I should say the first Chicago goal this period. And you can see that after Bob McMillan took the shot, Doug Wilson came streaking in from that point, as he loves to do. He's a very fine offensive defenseman that can play just as well in his own end zone, but he loves to get in there, sneak in there, and look for those loose pucks.
Here's Keith Brown for Chicago, giving it to Ben Wilson. That's centered to the rookie Olchuk. Olchuk in front. Savard shoots, he scores! Dennis Savard!
Well, you tell me how that one went in, but what a shot. Let's watch it from the blue line. Dennis Savard ends up with the puck. He pivots and backhands that puck right by Billy Smith. Just a beautiful play by Savard. The pass coming all the way across by Olchuk, and Savard just coming up with a standout play. A pivot, a backhand, and they're within 1.
Well, it was 6-2, but all of a sudden it's 6-5 as the Islanders have given up 3 in a row. Here's Yaremchuk for Chicago. Skating into the Islander zone. Yaremchuk trying to make a play. Drops it to Ben Wilson. Wilson shot. Smith a glove save on that. And he held on to it. Listen to this crowd at Chicago Stadium. They're really whooping it up. Savard got the goal. Olchuk and Ben Wilson the assist. 8:51 the time.
Well, Orville Tessier, as your team got 1 more left in them in this third period, it has been all their period. 3 goals in the third. Chicago staging the comeback. 10:43 remaining in his third. A long time yet to go.
I think they get up for the games at Chicago Stadium, these fans. Here from a face-off, a false start, so they'll do it over again.
It's just a tremendous place to play, Dan. As you have heard many a Chicago Blackhawk former and present player tell you that there is nothing like it when these fans get going and you're out there on the ice, boy. They can really motivate you.
Dennis Savard, who scored that last Chicago goal. Here's the face-off, and a jam up immediately from the face-off in the Islander zone. And it will again be in the circle to the right of Billy Smith. Savard really fooled Smith with that spin-around play he made. But meanwhile, you shouldn't be able to score from that angle.
No, you shouldn't. But Dennis Savard has scored from unusual angles before. His agility is tremendous.
Here's Chicago's Gardner holding it in. And as it bounced off the knee, it went right up over the glass and into the crowd. These Blackhawks are fired up now.
Somewhat frenzied crowd right now, Dan. They are behind their home team, and the Blackhawks are giving them something to cheer about. Just a different team totally than we saw in the first and second period. I was being very critical of them, not hustling to get to the puck, not showing much intensity, forechecking wise, but this third period, well, they are a different team.
Here's a long pass from Langevin to Brent Sutter that is whistled down because of a two-line offside, and again the faceoff will come back to inside the Islander blue line.
Well, you look at the Islander bench right now, and not quite the same mood as the Chicago bench. The Islanders are wondering what has happened to them in this third period. But yet, if ever there has been a team in the last 5 years that can defend a lead, it has been the Islanders, so they still have a one-goal advantage.
Puck is cleared to center by New York. Now Bob Murray clearing it right back in. Smith out of the net to poke it away from Ludzik. Now behind the goal, Langevin shooting it around to Gilbert, who gets it to center. Brent Sutter racing after it, but Doug Wilson hustles back, and he knocked it off the boards back to the Islander line. Ludzik steals it. Here's Larmer shooting one, and he put it high off an Islander stick right up over the glass. The score with 9:54 left in the third period. The Islanders 6, Chicago 5.
You've put in a long, hard, tough day. So you deserve to end the day in style. The 1985 Toyota SR5 Sport Truck, sporting a new electronically fuel-injected engine that makes it the most powerful truck in its class, without sacrificing an ounce of style or comfort. The Toyota Sport Truck.
Isn't it a good-looking brute?
What a feeling, Toyota.
3 goals in a row here in the third period for Chicago has cut the New York Islander lead to 6-5, and we still have 9 minutes 54 seconds left in regulation time. The Lysiak, McMillan, and Troy Murray line. Here's a shot from the point by Ben Wilson wide of the net, and now Potvin moving out for New York. Here's Trottier to Bossy. Bossy shoots. He blasted that just wide. Now Potvin got it behind the goal. Bossy into the corner, trying to center one. McMillan took it away from him, and Ben Wilson leads number 19, Troy Murray, who dumps it in. Trottier cleared it off the boards. McMillan ties him up, so does Lysiak. Bob McMillan, number 11, centering it, came right through the goal crease. And Diduck cleared it, held in by Brown, but then Diduck on the second try got it to center. The Hawks come right back. Troy Murray, centered, Trottier, without a stick, intercepted it, lost his glove as he tried to shoot the puck or shoo the puck into the corner. He lost his glove as well. Here's Lysiak as the Hawks attack again. Olchek moving in on left wing. Olchek dropping it back to Lysiak. Got it to the corner. Now, the Islanders clear it again. Chicago holding it in. The Hawks are buzzing all around. Murray a shot. Langevin stopped it. Murray another shot. Rebound. In behind Smith, but an Islander dives across to cover up, and we're going to get a penalty shot as Diddick, the rookie, fell on the puck in the crease. And that will give Chicago a penalty shot.
Let's watch it. Gerald Diddick is being accused of laying on top of that puck in the crease. I don't think there's much doubt about it. The puck went off the goalpost. He definitely pulled that underneath of him. Good call by Don Koharski. The Blackhawks have an excellent opportunity right now, probably the best one they're going to get, and they've got a penalty shot. 6-5 the score here in favor of the Islanders.
Billy Smith with the tying goal coming on a Chicago penalty shot attempt. Will be all on his own right here. Very good call by the official, Koharski, by the way.
It was an excellent call, Dan, and one that is a difficult judgment call, but you have to be in position in order to see that. Don Koharski was.
Number 24, Doug Wilson, will take the shot. The puck lies on the center ice red line. They're standing in the aisles at Chicago Stadium as Doug Wilson waits to get the signal from the official to take a penalty shot. Here comes Wilson. Billy Smith, a stick save as Wilson seemed to shoot it right at him.
Well, Billy Smith being congratulated right now by his teammates. The most pressured time of this game when you have a penalty shot and you're the shooter or the goalkeeper. Watch Wilson. I'm surprised that Wilson actually shot from way out because he was at the hash marks when he decided to shoot. Now watch him. Excellent camera advantage from behind the net. You can see Wilson's facial expressions coming in. You saw that he had his head up. He was looking where he wanted to shoot, but it ended up right in the paths of Billy Smith.
Well, they say all the pressure on the penalty shot is on the shooter, and that the goaltender really can't be faulted. But Smith stood his ground, and Smith seemed to shoot it right at him. He may have been trying to put it through his legs on the play.
Well, that could have been, Dan. Sometimes the goaltender opens those legs purposely to give you the 5-hole, and then knowing that he can close them quickly and shut you down. Doug Wilson right now will be very frustrated because he could have tied this game up for his team, but still 8:29 remaining, so we've got a long time yet to go. In this third period, the Blackhawks still with lots of time to tie it up.
Here's Bob Murray at the point, a shot wide, and Flatley starts out of his own zone for the Editors. Pat Flatley winds up, scored. Insky a save. Yaremchuk clears to Olchuk. Number 16, Ed Olchuk. Can't get around the defenseman Deneen, and Dennis Potvak cleared it away, and now Deneen and Olchuk get in a scrap. That's how fierce the checking was on that little excursion into the corner.
Well, once again, we see two young players involved in a fight, Deneen and Olchuk. Olchuk was trying to get around Deneen. Deneen took him out of the play, and then they continued to hang on to each other, and as a result, they decided to throw a few punches. Deneen for the Islanders and Olchuk for the Chicago Blackhawks. A very heated battle right now going on this ice.
And they are ushered to the penalty box. Gord Deneen and the rookie Ed Olchuk. 8:06 still to play. Let's go to our USA studio at this point, and here's Al Trudwick.
Dan, these are the x-rays of Murray Bannerman's shoulder. Murray, what happened on that shot you took?
Went up off the defenseman's stick and hit me on the collarbone. I went and had some x-rays done, and they came out negative. It's just a bruise. Can be a little stiffness, but that's about it.
So when do you think you'll be back?
Well, these things don't usually take too long. And depending on how it feels, usually a bruise, I'll be right back out there the next day.
Is this this comes at a really bad time for your team, doesn't it? I mean, everyone seems to be going down. Kurt Fraser in this game as well.
Yeah, Kurt's hurt fairly seriously. He's got a couple fractures in his cheek and around his eye, and that's pretty serious. Fortunately for myself, it's not really serious at all, and as I said, I'll be back out there tomorrow.
All right, that's the big thing. Not really serious. Back to you, Dan.
Here the Islanders on the attack now as Gilbert tried to feed it to Brent Sutter. Puck into the corner and a jam up there, and it's held, and we'll get a face-off now in the Chicago zone. Meanwhile, as well as scoring 3 goals, the Hawks have not given the Islanders very many opportunities in this period to test Warren Skorodinsky. They've dominated.
Well, they have protected him well by keeping the puck out of their zone. But the Islanders, being the type of team that they are, Dan, you can almost expect right now that one shift in particular is going to get things going for them. And they have to apply more forechecking than they've done in this third period if they're going to hold these Blackhawks off.
Hard to forecheck, though, Coach, when the puck's in your end.
Always backpedaling isn't the way to win hockey games.
Here we have a face-off, and the Islanders come up with it. Gilbert behind the net to Flatley. Savard squeezing him out of the play. Now Yaremchuk shooting one around in the boards. Didick trying to hold it in. Now Flatley did. Got it into the corner. Yaremchuk for the Hawks clearing it. Potvin held it in. Into the slot. Brent Sutter shot. Skorodinsky. The save, and then he cleared the rebound. Now Flatley behind the goal. Couldn't center it in. Yaremchuk, number 15. Speeds to center ice. Brent Sutter tied him up, and Flatley cleared the puck away. Here's Keith Brown into Savard. Savard centered one. Dennis Potvin played it perfectly. Broke it up, shot it to center, and here's Bossy after it. And Keith Brown ties up Bossy. Going to be a penalty to Brown on the play, however, as now Ben Wilson gets the puck, and Keith Brown will get a penalty. For our local systems, we'll pause here. It's the NHL on USA.
Goalies are born with great eyesight, something you need to stop 100-mile-an-hour slap shots. People with retinitis pigmentosa, RP, aren't so lucky. But the RP Foundation Fighting Blindness is working to prevent the tunnel vision and sight loss RP causes and help patients cope with this genetic eye disease. Call 800-638-2300 and support the RP Foundation Fighting Blindness. Preserving sight is one of the greatest saves you can make.
Special, originally... Another reminder that the Herbalife Success Special, originally scheduled for 11 o'clock Eastern Time, will be seen at 11:30 tonight here on USA.
Keith Brown in the penalty box. 2 minutes for holding was the call. That holding penalty coming on Mike Bossy. Bossy would have been in all alone had it not been for Keith Brown going back. Time was 13:01.
And the Islanders, who scored a goal earlier on the power play with the man advantage, but Chicago clearing it down the ice. Just under 7 minutes left in regulation time. The Islanders 6, Chicago 5. Here's Bob Bourne feeding one into the center ice area, picked up by Bossy. Mike Bossy trying to make a play to Bourne at the point. Bob Bourne shoots one. Skorodinsky, a stick save. Now onto the boards. Here's Rick Patterson back for Chicago. Patterson moving in. Chased to a bad angle and then knocked down by Potvin. And that will stop play as the puck winds up underneath Patterson and Dennis Potvin. The faceoff will be in the Islanders' zone.
Well, this last few minutes, play going back and forth. The Islanders having had a couple of good opportunities in Chicago's end zone. Now the Blackhawks showing some fight, coming right back. I think a lot of the Blackhawks' success, Dan, in this third period has been the fact that they have got the jump on the Islanders. They have beat them to the puck, And the defense has played so well and carried the puck out of their zone. Wilson and Murray have to give a lot of credit to those two players that log a lot of ice time.
Doug Wilson at the point, a drive. Smith got that one up high. Here's Bourne coming back for New York. Got it to center, now Tonelli. Moving across the line, John Tonelli. Trying to feed it through. Tonelli on left wing to Trottier. Back to Potvin. Potvin shoots. Oh, and that's deflected by Bossy just wide. Here's Potvin. To Tonelli, a shot. He fired wide. Now Potvin into Bossy. Over to Tonelli, and Skorodensky, a diving save. Potvin at the point. Over to Bourne. Into Tonelli, back to Bourne. Bourne to Tonelli, who's knocked down but held it in, but Bob Murray will clear it out of there for Chicago. Just 30 seconds left in the penalty. Potvin back to get it. Long pass at center. Intercepted by Gardner, who drops it to O'Callahan. And O'Callahan clearing one. It hit the linesman. Bill Gardner gets it, drops it to O'Callahan, and he picks an opening and fired it down the ice. Just 10 seconds left in the Hawk penalty. Gord Lane for the Auditors. Feeding one to Flatley. Flatley into Gilbert for New York. Now Brown is back on. Gilbert, stick handling, centered one, and Brent Sutter had been knocked out of the play, and here's O'Callahan shooting it high down the ice. And the Hawks are back at full strength. It's icing against Chicago. 4:44 still to play. And now the Hawk penalty killers get a roaring ovation.
Well, the Islanders with a key face-off coming up in Chicago's end zone. Trottier is not out there to take that draw. Instead, they have their young players. Roger Portko is out taking the face-off, along with Bob Bourne and Dwayne Sutter.
Portko, 21-year-old rookie, former 6th-round draft choice of the Auditors in '82. Chicago move up ice, clear it into the Auditor zone. Langevin is there to get it. To Bourne. Brown held it in, a shot. Smith the save. And Billy came diving out to cover up on it. Live NHL hockey from coast to coast is only on USA.
What you're doing is illegal. You're trying to hook yourself up to cable without paying for it. But that's illegal. Not very safe either. Stealing cable service is against the law in every state in the union. So don't think that what you're doing isn't a crime, because it is.
This message has been presented by the Western Pennsylvania Cable Association.
We'll bring you home.
4:29 to play in regulation time. Remember, at the end of this game, we'll be naming our mobile player of the game, so stay with us. Gary, I bet you didn't think we'd have this entertaining third period when this period started.
No, I sure didn't. When it was a 6-2 score, Dan, you thought that the Islanders were going to walk very handily over the Blackhawks. Third period has changed this whole game around.
The Blackhawks have dominated. They've been like playing a full-court press throughout. Here they are again. Savard trying to center to Yaremchuk. He's checked. Now Larmer gets turned around. Gets knocked down. Drops it to Brown. A drive, and Smith. A glove save there. And he held on to it.
Some pretty footwork by Steve Larmer on that play. He had possession of the puck. The Islanders did not bowl him over. They tried. You can see Larmer, he had possession of the puck here. Once they did finally knock him off his feet, he was still able to get that puck back to the point. The shot coming, Billy Smith making the save, but Steve Larmer, a very talented young player with this Chicago Blackhawk team, really danced on those feet of his.
The veteran Billy Smith ready for a face-off. 4:15. Still to play in regulation time. It'll be Bill Gardner against Brian Trottier. And on the face-off, the Auditors come up with it, and Potvin, number 5, leads a 3-on-2 rush to center. into Brent Sutter. Back to Potvin. Skorodensky the save. And Steve Larmer has it for the Hawks. Headmanning to Ludzik. Ludzik to Gardner. Gardner checked, and Didick has it for New York. Passing it to Brent Sutter, but it's offside at the Chicago blue line. Let's go to Al Trudwick again.
Dan, really strange game. It's almost as if these two teams switched jerseys in between the second and third periods. We don't know who the mobile player of the game is going to be, but Doug Wilson of Chicago, Dennis Savard of Chicago, they've played fabulous hockey game tonight. And Brian Trottier of the Islanders, he's got a couple of goals, so those are the candidates right now.
Still plenty of time remaining. 3:52 left in the regulation part of this game. Bill Torrey in the middle of your screen is the Auditor President and General Manager. And assistant coach Brian Kilray over on his right. Puck is cleared in as the Hawks now move it out of there. McMillan got it to center. Islanders break it up and try and clear it into the Hawk zone. They do, but right onto Bob Murray's stick. Murray to Yaremchuk. Ken Yaremchuk moving in on right wing. Yaremchuk centered. McMillan was there, but couldn't get a stick on it. And New York clear at the center ice. Here's Dwayne Sutter into Bourne. Bourne trying to get it behind the goal for Roger Kortko. Kortko couldn't get it. Now Dwayne Sutter does. Dwayne Sutter back to Langevin. Shoots from the point. Skorodensky a pad save, and he covered up on the rebound with Dwayne Sutter trying to poke at it. And we're down to 3:08 to play.
Good job by Warren Skorodensky making the save, but then covering up on his rebound. Langevin with the shot coming from the point. Skorodensky, you can see that puck bouncing. He first of all stood up, had the angle covered, and then just allowed that puck to hit him. What all good goaltenders say that you do, let that puck hit you. The puck bounced out in front, and he was quick to jump on it. But another key face-off coming up in the Chicago zone.
It is Brian Trottier stepping in against Lysiak. Trottier gets it to Potvin at the point. Over to Tonelli, his shot blocked. And the Hawks get it to center, but the rookie Didick recovered well and knocked it to Dennis Potvin. Potvin failed the first time, but now carries on right wing to center. Dennis Potvin trying to flip it in front for Tonelli, who had been knocked down. Now McMillan couldn't clear it out. Centering pass from Trottier to Bossy. Bossy couldn't center. And the Hawks clear it behind the net. Trottier in to get it. Trottier to Tonelli. Tonelli couldn't poke it in front, and Ben Wilson starts back for Chicago. Wilson to center ice to Lysiak. His shot blocked by Langevin. Now Ludzik backhanded it right through the goal crease. And the Auditors clear it. Held in by Lysiak. Trying to center to Ludzik. And then Dave Langevin again has it for New York to John Tonelli. Tonelli feeding it over on right wing for Didick. Didick is dumping it into the Hawk zone. And Bob Murray, number 6, has it for Chicago. 2 minutes left in regulation time. Here's Gardner. In on the wing for Larmer. Shooting. Hit the side of the net with a low shot. And Gilbert has it for the Auditors. He just shot it to the Chicago line. Doug Wilson back to get it to Bob Murray. Got to center ice. And then off the stick of Ludzik, back to Wilson again. Now Larmer to Gardner. Gardner, number 14, moving in to Ludzik. Too well checked by Lane, and Smith out of the net. Comley cleared it on the board. Wilson pinching in to force a faceoff, which will come with 1:26 left in regulation time, just as Deneen and Olchek come out of the penalty box.
Well, we don't know what this last minute and a half will bring us, either does Orville Tessier, but we recall back in October this year, October the 13th, the first meeting of these two teams, the Islanders came out on top of a 7-6 win, but that was in overtime. So once again, Dan, overtime between these two teams is in the air, but the Blackhawks desperately need to score. Right now they have called a timeout.
I noticed Dennis Savard, whom I haven't seen on the ice the last couple of shifts, out skating around as if to taste or to test a leg injury of some type. He hasn't played the last couple of times out.
Good point, because there had to be something wrong, because Billy Gardner was up centering that line with Steve Larmer, and Usually that is the place where Dennis Savard would definitely be. Savard having scored a goal and 2 assists in this third period. Al Arbour, meanwhile, has exactly the same opportunity to go over some strategy with his players behind the bench, and the professor is taking that opportunity.
Another reminder that the Herbalife Success Special, originally scheduled for 11 o'clock Eastern Time, will be seen immediately following our hockey telecast here on USA. The goaltender Skorodensky is still on the ice, even though Chicago has a face-off in the Islander zone. Tessier not choosing to take him off in favor of a 6th attacker because we still have 1:26 left. I guess his thinking is no use pulling him too early. Wait until you have to. Here's Gardner against Brent Sutter in the Islander zone. Very important face-off. And it's Brent Sutter getting tossed out. So Brian Trottier was on the ice to step in as a backup. Not a bad backup.
Not at all.
And Trottier wins the draw, and Bossy is able to poke it down into the Chicago zone. Keith Brown back after it. Cleared one to Ludzik. Ludzik lost it to Brent Sutter. Sutter to Bossy. Bossy stick handling at center for New York. Tried to clear it in. Knocked away by Ludzik, who dropped it to Ben Wilson. Out of Brown. Back to Wilson. Shot in by Murray. There goes Skorodensky to the bench. 6 attackers for Chicago are in the final minute. Troy Murray into the corner with Lane, and it's held there. And the Hawks, with 53 seconds left, get what they want, a big face-off in the Islander zone.
Well, the net is empty now, but I think it was an excellent move by Coach Orville Tessier not taking his goaltender out when they had the previous face-off in the Islanders zone. The Islanders are so excellent on face-offs that with that much time remaining, you don't just want to give them possession of the puck, which they so often get on face-off situations, and then that open net opportunity. But right now, with 53 seconds remaining and that face-off right back in the same position, you just know that Warren Skorodensky is going to remain on the bench where he is right now. Orville Tessier doing some last-minute manipulating.
The earlier timeout had been called by the Islanders, this one by Chicago. 53 seconds left. Skorodensky is on the bench. And Chicago will go with 6 attackers. When you go over your strategy of pulling the goalie and the 6 men on the ice, what is Chicago liable to be doing here, Gary?
Well, I think right now, Dan, that they are probably trying to just get their face-off alignment such that they know who is responsible for what and what player is going to shoot. In this situation, you can bet that if they win the draw, that puck is going to be coming back to Doug Wilson and then maybe over to Bob Murray. Let's watch and see what happens. Tom Lysak taking the draw.
So it's more alignment rather than any set play.
Well, you look in front of that net right now, and if Lysak wins the draw, you cannot have that Islander player coming through. You've got to let Wilson get a clean shot away or a clean pass.
Lysak against Brent Sutter. Lysak gets the draw to Wilson. He centered it in front of the goal. Troy Murray couldn't get it. Now Larmer shoots. Rebound to Savard. He shot it wide. Oh, 2 excellent chances for Chicago. Here's Savard again. Battling with Bossy, and Bossy wins the battle. Cleared it on the boards. Held in, however, by Larmer to Savard. 30 seconds left. Savard cutting in. Centered it. Knocked away by Potvin. Now Savard from behind the net. Centered it. Right through the goal crease it went. Centered again, but Bossy is there for New York. Just shoot it to center. 15 seconds left. Bob Murray back to get it. Clearing one. Potvin knocked it down, but here's Doug Wilson. Rifles a shot off a stick and over the glass. And the faceoff is going to be just inside the Islander blue line. Well, the Hawks have only 8 seconds left, but they had a couple of great chances.
Dennis Savard, that puck just seems to come to him like a magnet. He was around Billy Smith, in front of the net, behind the net, trying to set up some good scoring plays, but they just did not come. That puck was loose in front of Billy Smith a couple of times, but the Islanders were able to hold off right now with 8 seconds remaining. I would think that on this faceoff, You really can't, that close to the blue, Dan, pull it back. And so Lysiak is going to maybe go right for the net with it. If they pull it back, it's going to be offside. So you, in this case, have to almost go for the net, or in the case that Lysiak's a left-hand shot, he may just try and pass it directly over to his right defenseman.
Brent Sutter against Lysiak. Puck comes to Wilson, and Trottier was able to get it outside the zone. Lysiak comes back to Larmer. His shot a bouncer. Smith to save as the buzzer goes to end the game, and Billy Smith lies flat on his back after an exhausting third period, and he may be shaken up on the play.
Well,
Smith went out and covered up, but he may have pulled a muscle or something. He's down on the ice and injured.
The way that he went down, you had to wonder, but he's getting right back up again and doing a little stretching, but he was able to preserve the win.
Shots on goal in the third period favored Chicago 14-8. In the game, Chicago had 34, the Islanders 27. The final score here in Chicago, the Islanders 6, the Blackhawks 5.
Thank you for your order, and be sure to look for your free gift. Would you like to receive a free gift too? I'll be right back to tell you how.